Welcome to the Tom Bilyeu Show live. We are coming to you from Miami. We're not in the usual place, but we are ready to rock and roll. Today is going to be a busy day, boys and girls. Strap in. Alan Dershowitz is saying the Epstein files are indeed being suppressed, that we've got some major action, major players that are being protected. He said from all over, politicians, famous people, you name it, they're in there. Pete Hegseth says America is going to achieve drone dominance, and he has a nice theatrical video for us showing that. I'll believe it when I see it. I'm a little skeptical on that one. I think America's way behind. And by the way, we get all of our parts from China. So we got a lot of work to do there, but we'll see. Biden's Dr. Pleads the Fifth. I think this is wise. Oh man, I really think that there are just going to be bad things that come out of that. Now, I am well aware that two people can look at the same thing and see something different, but I cannot believe that people are not mortified to their core that Biden clearly had dementia. We'll see. We'll be watching the chat today to see what you guys have to say about that one. Glenn Greenwald says America loves dictators. We love dictators, Drew, but we're not going to be able to save Ukraine. I don't think he's wrong. I certainly don't think he's wrong about the dictator part, by the way. So, yeah, we'll get into that. Gunfire rings out at an ICE raid on a California marijuana farm. Not sure if I'm supposed to legally say cannabis there, Drew, but nonetheless, shots were fired. You can see it on the video. It's pretty crazy. To all my hodlers out there, shout out.
Bitcoin.
Shout
we out
out,
here.
everybody.
Where's the word card?
All-time highs. It is flying right now, and that's what happens when you print money to no end. So, hey, the big, beautiful bill isn't all bad. Oh, God, it's going to rob from everybody. But if you have the right assets, boys and girls, as hopefully by now I have just beaten you to death with that idea, you're going to be okay. But you got to have the right assets. We'll see, is Bitcoin long-term going to be that asset? I'm certainly banking, I won't say everything I got, but a meaningful portion of what we have, that indeed is going to be one of the assets that you want to be in. We'll see. Time will tell. But for today, you got to be feeling pretty good. And new contact lenses are actually going to help people see in infrared. This is pretty amazing. Drew, we're all going to be cyborgs. I'm telling you right now.
It's happening.
You right now, Drew.
It's happening. First and foremost, everybody, this is my favorite meme on a Friday.
It's
So I just want to start it off right.
It's Saturday, Sunday, what? It's Friday, then.
Happy Friday, everybody. We in Miami. Hey, that was me and G last night.
Going hard. They ditched me so they could party, everybody.
Happy Friday, everybody. Hope everybody's week is going good. All right, jumping right into it. This Epstein thing is not going away, no matter how much they try to bury it. No matter how much they're like, hey, stop looking at it, guys. We're not talking about it anymore. Alan Dershowitz.
And by the way, just giving you the facts, you can draw whatever conclusion you want, but our episode on Epstein got age restricted.
Yeah.
I say more swear words. I talk about the clitoris all day long. I can talk any crazy thing I want. But homie, you start wading into the Epstein waters and clamp down.
A couple creators got hit.
That one's crazy.
Yeah.
That one is crazy. This one is going to get weird, Drew.
Yeah. So, all right, jumping into it, Alan Dershowitz says he knows for a fact.
By the way, let me read who Alan Dershowitz is. So I knew the name, but I didn't know a lot about him. Alan Dershowitz is a prominent American attorney, legal scholar, and professor emeritus at Harvard Law School, known for his expertise in constitutional and criminal law. Born in 1938, some notable aspects of his career: high-profile legal defense. Dershowitz has represented several famous clients, including O.J., Mike Tyson, Jeffrey Epstein, Julian Assange, and former President Donald Trump during his first impeachment trial. His reputation is largely built on taking controversial and often unpopular cases. He was also the youngest professor at Harvard Law School, becoming a professor at 28. So
that's awesome.
This is not some Joe Schmo off the street. That is the punchline there before we get into what he said.
Let's jump into his take.
So let me tell you, I know for a fact documents are being suppressed. And they're being suppressed to protect individuals. I know the names of the individuals. I know why they're being suppressed. I know who's suppressing them. But I'm bound by confidentiality from a judge and cases, and I can't disclose what I know. But I hand to God, I know the names of people whose files are being suppressed in order to protect them. And that's wrong.
I feel like that's an ipso facto right there. We've been talking about this. It's been bouncing around the podcast circus now at this point. It seems that this is the smoking gun. No matter how much they say it's not important, no matter how much Trump says, we're still talking about this. This is not going away.
It's not going away, dude. So here's the thing. This is, everybody is going to reveal themselves in how they respond to social media, being able to talk about everything, cameras being everywhere. And some people are going to want to clamp down. They're going to want you to only see things that are approved. They don't like the way that the human animal will, because this much information has a deranging effect. It just isn't only deranging. To me, this is like being able to farm and create industrial grade animal farming where you can just have calories all the time, anytime, whenever you want. If you give that to people that have no control, they're going to become, 600 pounds. They're going to eat terrible food. They're going to be dying of malnutrition despite being morbidly obese. Yeah, I get it. But that doesn't mean that I would rather force everybody back to where you have to hunt and fish and risk starvation when winter comes. Like, it's absurd. The logic that people use around, hey, some people are going to say dumb things and some people are going to believe dumb things, and therefore we have to control the shit. It is the weirdest, logical progression ever. You know that at some point you're saying, I don't want the trust to be voluntary. I want the trust to be forced. What is happening? How do people look at history and go, it works out so well, Drew? Yeah. It's not a problem. It's crazy.
What do you say, though, to the people that say there's Swiss, bliss? I don't know, all the misinformation.
I like that.
What do you say to those?
They're all real.
There is something that if I say a lie loud enough, and we even experimented on the show jokingly, we all have examples of that.
Some people still think you're 53. I love that so much. He is 53, by the way. I would like the record.
There's something that if you say it loud enough, it will be effective. And at the political level, there should be a level of responsibility there. So is it, we can police this speech over here, but it's free speech when you're talking about, technology. It's free speech when you're talking about video games, movies, things like that. But politics should be restricted. Is that a middle ground?
Nope.
You just think full stop, no restriction, you cannot do it.
Correct. So here's the thing, Drew. Oh, God. I love and care about you truly as a human being, but I think you're out of your mind to believe in God. Now, imagine that I got to tell you, you can't talk about that. It's not true. How you'd be willing to fight and kill, almost certainly, if people told you, no, that's not real, and you can't talk about it. And I would be able to show you the proof of all the scientific things that show it's not real, and yet you would say, this is the most absurd thing ever. You are wrong. I don't care what your science says. And what I'm saying is correct. You should be able to say and believe the things that you say and believe. And if I'm completely honest, you should be able to lie, because I don't want people to try to be the adjudicators of truth.
Yeah.
So it's listen, this is the reality of the human condition. We are in this position. People must think for themselves. They have to be able to live in a world where there's all kinds of terrible food and eat the right ones and figure out which is which. We have to live in a world where people are going to be hearing mal information coming at them from all angles, and they've got to figure out how to navigate this. And there are going to be some people that do not have the intellectual capacity to make it, and we have to accept that those people's lives will be worse, that God has found it absolutely okay to give people an IQ that just makes the world impossible to navigate. It is what it is. It is maniacal when people go, well, but I see everything so clearly. I'm going to say that these institutions shouldn't be optionally listened to. They shouldn't have to compete for people's respect and trust. You should just trust.
Yeah.
These are them. Politicians, if that's people's bag, or the New York Times, if that's people's bag, or the National Institute of Health, if that's hard pass. This is where people have to take ownership of their lives and say, yes, there's going to be a whole bunch of information that I totally disagree with, and I'm going to have to find a way to parse this. I'm going to have to think from first principles. I'm going to have to map cause and effect, and I'm going to have to try to get to what's true. I have to get out of my own way. I have to stop believing everything that I feel. I have to stop believing everything that I believed yesterday because it no longer maps to reality. Hey, it just is what it is. And listen, I'm all for that 1776 energy, or maybe I'm for that 1600s energy. I need people to understand you cannot expect to go through life with all of the sharp edges padded. You have to say, life is going to be hard. There's a huge chance of failure. And instead of making sure that I can't ever get hurt, I want uncapped upside. And so the great irony is in real life, I want to live in a more moderate space, but there's no energy for that. And so I find myself feeling like I've got to push harder and harder to get people to hear me, because right now all I hear is people clamoring for nobody left behind, nobody can get hurt, we've got to control the information, and I'm talking from well-meaning, really smart people. And it is a value system that has already bankrupted this country. We are living on fumes. I would like to remind everybody that fiat currency is born only of confidence. So we're already bankrupt, and now we're going to lose confidence. And that is going to be a bloodbath. And the only way to pull back from that is you have to go, listen, we want to create the soil. That's what a nation is, in my opinion. We want to create the soil in which people can thrive as much as their drive, intelligence, discipline will allow them to. And some people are going to live a terrible life. Okay, and just is what it is.
That reminds me of a Nick Saban speech that I definitely want to pull up. It was like a press conference he did a few years ago, but I know a lot of times we were talking about this off camera, so I think this resonates.
Okay, y'all ready for a lecture? Talk about the importance of nothing. You get up every day, you're entitled to nothing. Nobody owes you nothing.
I love this already.
You could have talent, but if you don't have discipline and you don't execute, you don't focus, what do you get? Nothing. If you're complacent and not paying attention to detail, what does that get you? Nothing. So nothing is acceptable but your best. So we need to be, everything is determined by what you do and you trying to be your best, so that
Literally,
you can build on
cause and
positive
effect.
performance. So that, and that's the only thing. There should be nothing else, but that, for
People want to
everybody.
pretend that we're not in a competition. That's the problem.
Yeah. And I like how he just started it off like, you're entitled to nothing. You wake up every day, nobody owes you anything. And the internalization of that, I think, is important. So although I understand the motivations behind a lot of these things about, okay, hey guys, election cycles can swing. There's grave consequences to elections. We have to be careful who we vote for. But that also means do your research. That also means don't just don't get all your information from X. That also means talk to people, get out. So instead of saying, let's put more policing on the actual policies, it should be the other side, the individual stepping up and saying, okay, maybe I do need to understand more information. I need to gather more things, just diversify your sources, whatever it may be. But yeah, there's a slippery slope. There was a question in the chat that was like, is there any limit? Do you fall on the side like, okay, at least you shouldn't incite violence at the very minimum?
Yeah. I'm all for the regulations that we have in effect right now. No direct calls for violence. I should probably go and break out what the actual things are that the Supreme Court has ruled on. But for the most part, it is it's a Wild West. Say whatever you think is true. And the problem is we are so bad at identifying what is true that once you give somebody the power to start censoring, blocking, punishing you for, you slide into totalitarianism so fast. And I will forever point people back to Semmelweis, the Hungarian doctor, who I think just epitomizes why you can't do that. And that was just colleagues. That wasn't even the state. And Semmelweis, to speedrun his story, he was a Hungarian doctor that worked in a hospital that was divided into two, so in the same building, same space, and one side of this separate setup had a death rate that was 5 times higher than the other side. And so he's like, what is going on? And the conclusion that he came to, because this was all tied to women giving birth, and they were just dropping like flies. And so he came up with what we now call germ theory, that people were doing autopsies in the morning and then delivering babies in the afternoon, but they weren't washing. And so he came up with a sanitizing solution, and he made doctors wash their hands, and the birth rate didn't just go down. It absolutely plummeted.
Wow.
And so he tells all his colleagues, hey, germ theory, wash your hands. And they're all like, nope, you're an idiot. This has nothing to do with us. And he ends up dying penniless and in an insane asylum because they so broke his will. Like, they alienated him, told him he was a moron, kicked him out of the hospital, all of this, because they just couldn't accept that they had anything to do with these deaths. Like, the update that required to their sense of self was just too profound. They couldn't do it. So the moral of that story is, he was right, they were wrong, but it took 20 years of people saying, like, that's not something we can talk about. Yeah. It's exactly what happened during COVID. It's what happens all the time. People think they know, and they really don't. And so have humility. Like, I know the things that I say most, like, aggressively. I know that they could be wrong. And so I'm always open to finding out that, oh, this thing that was like, this is my hill to die on. And then I find out, oh, okay, you did die on that hill. And then it's like, well, thank God. In reality, that's just a metaphor, because I need to be updating my thinking. And life has just taught me that when you update your thinking enough, you can get outcomes that are so desirable that it's worth letting go of well, I was right about this. And listen, you're going to hear me do it every now and then. When I'm right about something, I'm going to beat my chest like anybody else. But then I will immediately remind myself, this is so dangerous. Like, do not overinvest. Just because you were right this once, you were going to be wrong so many times. That's how you get rich. Like, I want people to understand that the very thing that has made me successful is my willingness to go, I'm the fool. I'm the one that's wrong. I don't need to point a bunch of fingers at everybody else. This is a me problem. And when you wake up every day and you go, this is a me problem, then it's like, okay, you're staying in control. You're staying disciplined. You're trying to find cause and effect. You're thinking from first principles. Does this violate the laws of physics? If it does, I'm not going to pursue it. If it doesn't, then it's like, okay, this is possible. So am I willing to figure this thing out and go down that road? But inevitably, there's going to be 35 things that are like core to who I am that I'm going to have to realize, oh my God, none of these are true. So for instance, 4 months ago, I would have said there's no benefit to modern monetary theory except to bankers. Okay, well, doing the research, it just isn't true. And so it's like, okay, so now you're back to the Thomas Sowell thing. It's just trade-offs. So it's like, if we want the modern monetary system, okay, let me just tell you how and why this goes wrong, what it leads to over and over and over and over and over and over and over. And so instead of me going, oh, like hard money saves everything, it does not save everything. It has its own problems. And so if I wasn't willing to update my thinking, I would have been like, I have a cool talking point, and I would have just ridden that horse until the world was like, this guy's a fucking idiot. He doesn't listen. But because I want to get even richer, Drew, I need to figure out what's real.
Bitcoin hitting all-time high. We're going to get there.
There it is.
Okay, but back to Epstein thing for all the Bitcoin bros. Zorians in the chat said the official story is that Epstein was a sex trafficker who killed himself, and the DOJ says there's no proof he was blackmailing people with a client list. This is the simplest explanation backed. Before you jump in, I've heard that the reason that they're keeping the quote-unquote list under wraps is because without context, if somebody said, we found this person contacted Epstein, it would immediately paint them with a picture that paint them with a brush that might not necessarily be accurate. So let's say Epstein's housekeeper happens to be on that list. Now that doesn't mean that person is a sex trafficker, but it just means that they did business with Epstein. So is there something to, just because you are affiliated with that person doesn't mean you should be criminally implicated with them just because you're associated with them?
Of course. Yeah. Of course. But that's not the vibe that we're getting. I want to remind everybody, and this will be played until the end of time. You've got Kash Patel. Hey, literally, you want to put me in because I've had the FBI weaponized against me. I know how they lie, position, hide, show, like as a way to create a narrative about somebody. They really tried to come after me, tried to pressure me. I didn't buckle. Here I am, put me in, and on day one, I'm going to give you the Epstein files. And then he gets in, and it's not, hey, listen, guys, there's a whole bunch of people. We have to be really careful with how we parse this out. I was being way too flippant before. Now that I see what this is, and I actually I'm beyond narrative and I'm into like, I'm going to be held accountable to how I handle this. I'm telling you, we have to parse out between people that did things and people that were just business associates on the clean side of his business. And so I'm going to need the next 18 months to go through this. This is going to be obviously a major thing at the midterm, so I completely understand. I don't mind that. I want our people to really do the due diligence, and then we will present to you the findings that we have. But me going off half-cocked, that doesn't make sense. People are going to be angry, but he's setting himself up for, he's got to deliver before the midterms. It's going to be a big issue. It's like, okay, well, these guys really believe that they can put a story together. It's not what we got. What we got was, these are not the droids you're looking for. There's nothing to see here. Like, he killed himself. Like, it was just... It was so absurd, and they were really hoping that this was going to disappear. But what they don't understand is a populist movement is all about, I can no longer trust the elites. The elites are being abusive to me. People can't articulate it like that. They're just emotional. They're just mad. But the economic setup leads them to that feeling that I can't trust anybody. So COVID made people feel that way. The economic setup makes people feel that way. Social media, the fact that cameras are everywhere, the fact that we can show, no, this guy said this thing like 3 years ago. He literally said
we have
whatever,
footage.
right? And so we can make all these compilations. So it is certainly changing the way that we think about elites. But due to the populist moment, which I've outlined 1,000 times, how we get here, you've got people, they're very angry, they don't trust in the elites. And now you're putting them in a position where you're getting a whole bunch of trust me bros, and it's like, no, hold on. The whole reason we're in this moment is because we've lost faith. You guys got into power by making promises that you were above that you were going to reveal all this stuff. You were going to show us MLK, JFK, Epstein files, aliens, like we were going to get it all. And there's just no satisfaction to be delivered. Now, part of this, for sure, is there is not going to be any level of satisfaction that people will accept. I get that. I get that the sort of... revolutionary spirit has been lit in people, and history shows that once people click over into that, it's very hard to rein them back. But like, they're not even giving us the basic, like, here's exactly what's happening. Here's what we found. There's 72 names on the list, 150 names on the list. But we have reason to believe that a meaningful percentage of these are just business associates. And so getting everybody like caught up in this, whatever. But they're not doing that.
They're saying, we're still talking about this?
Yes, literally. That was one of the dumbest things you could have said.
I don't know who's running Joe Rogan Podcast News Twitter channel, but it's hilarious. They just put up basically a checklist, a scoreboard on who's winning right now.
Oh, yeah.
Journalists versus conspiracy theorists, Hunter's laptop, mRNA vax harm, pandemic, lockdown, ivermectin, HCQ, face mask, censorship, social media, Epstein sex island, elite pedophilia, biolab, child trafficking, Russiagate, Steele dossier, Ukraine corruption. It becomes funny that it like we're just crying right now to hide the pain, but there is something going on. And even we're going to talk about this later, like you can manipulate the weather now. And that was like a conspiracy theory. And now that's been confirmed. So it's like everything that we kind of think sounds crazy, and then it becomes true. And it seems like it's just a matter of time before that happens.
Yes. Yeah, I mean,
Wow.
So is every conspiracy theory true? No, of course not. Is it even probably when you take the actual facts of the conspiracy theory versus the final verdict, it's probably a very small percentage of the things that people claim are actually true. And so that checklist is fun, and it certainly points at something. But like, for instance, Pizzagate, like there wasn't even a basement in that pizza parlor.
Yeah.
So it's like you're already getting to, okay, the way that they've packaged it up and presented it is patently absurd. But there is like an element of, oh, there really are a distressing number of pedophiles. And they really, that's probably one of the words we can't say, right?
PDF file.
PDF file. Yes, thank you. There's probably a ton of PDF files. And that's very bad news, but they're not. The specifics of all of the different conspiracies are where you're going to find like there's a huge mismatch. And so that's where I think somebody like Rogan is trying to get at is like, listen, I get it. There's like the specifics of a lot of this stuff is just fun, dramatic, and entertaining, but it is pointing at a real phenomenon, which is that you lie, spin, cheat, et cetera, et cetera. And so everybody is fed up with all of that, and the velocity and volume of information makes it such that we're just not going to be blind to any of this stuff anymore. So, yeah.
I think we're entering into a new era of American ingenuity. Between Andrew, between everything Joe Lonsdale is doing.
Hey, sorry, really fast before we move on. My apologies because you're mid-transition. But the mere fact that we have to say PDF files drives me crazy.
That's part of the problem.
That's part of the problem.
Yeah.
Like, okay, let me try to teleport myself into their shoes. This is about advertisers. They're trying to rein you in from an advertising perspective. Okay, I sort of get that. But let advertisers blacklist me. Don't, like, go in and...
You can't put NordVPN advertisements when you're out here talking about...
Because you can go in and say, like... as an advertiser, I don't want to be on this person's channel. Mm-hmm. So there's like already a mechanism for this. Anyway, I know when it was completely unhinged, advertisers really were having a stroke. So I guess I can't completely fault them, but it is a bit dumb when you've got topics of this kind and you've got something that they would say on mainstream news like this. You could say PDF file in like CNN, 7 o'clock news. On CNN. Like, so anyway.
Yeah, it happens. All right. Back to the ingenuity of America. I think we're getting back to leading the military operations. I know we were talking about drone dominance. We've seen a lot of things come out from China, but it seems like Pete Hegseth, Joe Lonsdale, Palmer Luckey, a lot of those guys are really going hard in the paint. And Pete Hegseth released this video yesterday.
You know what? We know why we were put here. We were brought here to rebuild the military, match capabilities to the threats of today. So while our adversaries have produced millions of cheap drones, before us, we were mired in bureaucratic red tape. Not anymore. In June, President Trump issued an executive order unleashing American drone dominance to bolster our drone industry and arm our warfighters, because that's what we're all about. So today, I'm rescinding restrictive policies that stifle production, and this will unleash American manufacturing and the ingenuity of our warfighters by doing three key things. First, we're going to bolster the U.S. drone manufacturing base by producing thousands of American-made products, prioritizing Buy American. We'll arm combat units with a variety of low-cost American-crafted drones, leveraging our world-leading engineers and AI experts.
I don't think they thought
and third, we're going to train as we expect to fight. Senior officers, well, I'll grab this because it's the memo. Senior officers must overcome bureaucratic risk aversion in budgeting, weaponeering, and training. So here's the memo we're signing today, delivered via drones here on the front lawn of the Pentagon.
Wolfram, it was a little...
with some of our great warfighters flying them.
There's one coming up in a second.
This is the future.
But,
we're in the fight.
There it is.
We're in the fight to win it. I'm never going to back down.
So yeah, a little bit silly, but I do appreciate the theatricality. Like, this is just the world that we live in. So
you said it yesterday. We have a content president, and I feel like his team has now adopted that, and they're becoming a content team.
You have to.
From the live cabinet meetings to now, every time Pete Hegseth does something, I feel like he has a bit of that.
Have you seen? It's one of my favorite memes. Real estate agents out here when they realize that they have to keep doing TikToks to sell houses, and they're like crying as they like do the latest dance. Oh God, that makes me laugh. But in teaching entrepreneurship, I find myself constantly, people will ask a question. I'm like, you have to learn social marketing. Like, you have to. Like, that's how people interact with the world. There's no way around it. Like, there is nothing better. Word of mouth is always going to be the best, but guess how you get to word of mouth? You do it socially. There will be exceptions, of course. Someone's going to find like that one narrow way through that. But 99% of all marketing now is social. So
Sarah Young literally just asked that, do we really want our executive branch to act like a bunch of influencers? I don't know.
Yes. What do you mean? So hold on.
Hey guys, live from the White House. We're about to sign these executive orders.
Yes. Think about, have you listened to how people talked 200 years ago?
I haven't listened.
It is hysterical. Like, when you do, and when I say listen, I mean like in an audiobook, they'll read their direct quotes. And so it is hilarious. They speak with a level of elegance, Drew, that makes it abundantly clear that they are going to be remembered by posterity. It's like, I'm like, bitch, you're talking to your wife. Like, what's happening? So things just change.
Yeah.
The way that we talk changes. The way that we interact changes. Like, there's a newscaster accent.
A newscaster accent.
Coming to you live from, right? Like, if
That's a good
even
point.
AI can copy,
Yeah.
because there's a pattern to the way that they talk. And there's a accent for influencers. So I'm not saying that the White House needs to adopt that, but we need to understand that this is where the world is going. When you're living in a transitional moment, it's just so in your face because you watch the change happen. But kids grow up now just assuming this is the way the world has always been. Like, think about it. To your daughter, like, a world without social media, just like, I guess she sort of knows that it exists, but like, have you ever really thought about there was a world without electricity? Not really. It's just like, well, there's a thing in the wall and I plug in.
Yeah.
So everyone just grows up assuming that this is the way the world is, was, and always will be. And of course, it's not. Every moment is transient. And, 15, 20 years from now, the world's going to be very different. We're going to have robots everywhere. Anyway, so when I say that we do, in fact, want the White House politicians to sound like influencers, what I mean is, we want them to be authentic. We want them to be on camera. We want them to have podcasts and do lives so that we can, like, when I think about when I first started live streaming versus how I am now, oh my God. Like, when I first started doing the game stream, I was still in that mode of like, okay, what can I talk about? What do I not talk about?
Yeah.
Versus now I'm just like, I'm going to talk about whatever I think, whatever I believe I'm going to say. And yeah, I have no doubt compilations at some point will be made about all the asinine things that I've said. Is what it is. So.
I'm trying to balance those two things, though, because I do feel like, on one hand, yes, I would like the additional transparency. I like that the fact that the government has live cabinet meetings. I like the fact that whether it's a blunder, whether it's an announcement, whether it's spectacle, I like that they're going directly to the people to unveil these new things, and I don't have to wait for Fox or CNN or another news outlet to kind of distribute it for me. On the other hand, though, going back to the free speech thing, do I want that transparency if I'm not sure that 100% of the things they're saying are truthful?
They're not truthful at all. Politicians lie, cheat, steal, spin. It is the nature of man as political animal. So knowing that they're doing that, don't you want as much of that to be in your face as possible so you can read body language, you can look for consistency, inconsistencies, you can look for tells. They say that you can, a novice can beat an experienced poker player in a single hand, but if you play with him for 3 hours, there's no way because they're going to start to map all the things that you do. And so I'm just saying, man, love or hate Trump, the fact that he does so much in public really does allow you to begin to map him. There's a quote I heard once, I forget who said this, when we speak, we cannot help but reveal ourselves. And so I'm just saying, get people speaking.
Yeah. That's real. That's real. Night Gale Wing said, what are you guys saying? You elected a reality star president. Now you want policy instead of circus. That comes with the territory. He did have a reality TV show. He did have that was his life before the presidency. So
yeah, I don't have the view on that people have of Trump, that he's not being sincere and he's not really trying to get things done. And I couldn't be more devastated by the big, beautiful bill. This is not me sticking up for Trump. This is me just saying, I think he actually is trying to get things done to make America great as he sees it. That we are strong militarily, that we're able to withstand threats, that the rest of the world, I mean, to be really gross, the rest of the world cowers at our feet, thanks us for our attention, thanks us for access to our economy. Like, he's definitely got that, like, arrogance to him of, like, we're the best and I expect everybody to bow down. You can think that's gross, but it's like, he really does have a vision for what he's trying to do, and he's trying to do that thing, and people will often criticize and be like, no, he doesn't believe in anything. Yes, he does. It's just that he is somebody who believes that to get what you want, you've got to be willing to say one thing, do another, change your mind on a dime, watch the polls and be like, okay, am I doing this right or not? Because he wants to be in power. He wants to get things his way. He wants to always have the cards in the negotiation. But like, just because a lot of the words that I just said are gross, people act like he doesn't have an agenda or he isn't being consistent with the things that he's aiming at. That is, I think, a you will be constantly confused by the way he moves if that's how you're trying to map him. If you think, he just blows with the wind. He doesn't blow with the wind. He watches the polls and goes, I know I have to stay in power. Like when he said, and again, this was so devastating to me. Hey, to all my fiscal conservatives out there, remember, we have to get reelected. So let's give people more free shit. And I was like, wow, okay, well, yes, this is god awful. And that is the sound of him stamping on the accelerator as we head straight towards the cliff. But he's very consistent on doing whatever it takes to get elected.
This reminds me of the Andrew Schultz clips that's been going around that's talk about the buyer's remorse that some Trump supporters are feeling.
I believe when Trump, everything he campaigned on, I believe he wanted to do. And now he's doing the exact opposite thing of every single fucking thing.
I don't know what he's done. Yeah, exactly to your point. If you tell me, it's easier for me to believe you wanted to do all these things if any of them were happening in the way that you said they would.
To that point, like there'll be people that like they'll DM me and be like, you see what your boy's doing? You voted for this. I'm like, I voted for none of this. He's doing the exact opposite of everything I voted for. Yeah. I want him to stop the wars. He's funding them. I want him to shrink spending, reduce the budget.
So that is, if you go back and look at some of our earliest conversations, I was like, the one fear that I have is he is making all these big statements. We're going to end the war. We're going to do this. We're going to do that. And I'm like, he's going to have to back this up because if like with the whole taco idea, if taco were actually true, then world leaders would just be like, oh, fuck them. Yeah. But the reality is that despite like hokey pokey tariffs, looks like they really are going to be on to some very large degree. He really did bomb the shit out of Iran. He's not going to have any leverage with Putin if he's not willing to give weapons to Ukraine. So it's like it depends on which thing you were hoping he would follow through on. If you were hoping he would follow through on an isolationist policy, okay, then I totally get why people would be angry. But if you believe that he was going to reorganize the world order such that America stayed on top, then he's playing that game out.
Do you have similar inclinations about that, though, that like personally, I thought he was going to be marching on this beat, and some of those things necessarily haven't come into fruition?
Yes, I am completely befuddled by his big, beautiful bill in terms of it's so blind, deaf, I don't know, to the realities of the physics of money. So the only thing I can imagine is he and Besant and Lutnick, who's somehow been completely relegated. So I don't know if it's just that people didn't respond well to the way that he talks.
Yeah, I feel like I haven't seen him in a while neither.
Poof, gone.
Yeah.
But they have to be in a back room somewhere going, we're going to grow our way out of this. And so let's lower taxes so that more investment is made. Let's lower regulation so that people can build more. Let's be the hub of AI. Let's shore up our debt problem with crypto and specifically stable coins, just so nobody thinks I'm being vague there. And just watch, by the midterms, we're going to crush.
Yeah. And
so because I can still track what could be his internal logic, it doesn't mean that it is, but it's like, that would be perfectly consistent with the way that he's behaving. So it's like, is that smart? Not from where I'm sitting, but I also don't think that I should be able to be the czar that makes all these decisions. So again, this comes down to if people were like, he actually is going to end the war on day one, and he actually is going to make sure that we are protectionist. I don't know that he ever said isolationist, but protectionist, then I would get being irate. Yeah. But if you were like, okay, wait a second, that's not how wars work. So he's going to have a carrot and a stick. And so now we're witnessing the use of the stick. Because this is like everybody has a plan until they get punched in the face. Putin threw the counterpunch. So what do people want him to do? Just go, okay, cool, hands off?
Yeah.
But for real, like... Is that what people want him to do?
It's weird, but I think it's because he had so much rhetoric coming in. He came with all that bravado of, if I was in office, he'll be gone.
This makes him look fucking terrible.
Yeah.
Okay. But now what? So it's like, if we want to say, listen, I think this would be a perfectly, I'm going to say reasonable, but bear with me while I decide whether that's actually the right word. But if he went, in terms of Russia, here's what we should do, boys and girls. We never should have moved NATO up to their door. The way that Putin is behaving, completely rational, given the circumstances. So I'm going to...
Super chat.
Hold on one second. I'm going to go hard in the paint with NATO on the following. NATO, we should stop funding this Ukraine. We hope Ukraine wins. They're a sovereign nation. They never should have been invaded, but they're not a member of NATO.
Yeah.
So we wish them the best. It is what it is. If Putin makes a move beyond that, goes into a NATO country, then all hell is going to break loose. And we are going to bring the full military might of NATO down. Here's what we're spending. Here's what everybody else is spending on their defense. We would like to put Putin on notice that here's our red line. And if you cross it, then you will get a military response. Okay, cool. And then it's like Trump comes back and focuses on America. Then that may be the thing that pleases his base. It all comes down to why you think Putin has invaded Ukraine. If you believe, as the realist lens, I would say, makes abundantly clear that the West provoked this, and Putin, is being a rational, albeit maybe evil, he is being a rational actor in saying, you guys are trying to treat Ukraine like they're part of the West. They are not. They are part of my sphere of influence. I will not tolerate you guys making them a member nation of NATO. So guess what? I'm just going to start taking these back over piece by piece. So if you believe that he did that, then this reaction, I could see people going, I'd rather you came back and draw whatever line we're going to draw, but I don't think we're at it. If you think he's just expansionist and it's, I just want as much territory as I can get, and I, Putin, am just going to keep going, like, hey, if you're going to let me take London, I'll take London, then we have to push back. And if you're going to push back, you might as well push back now. Yeah. So that comes down to that, and then what people voted for. So admittedly, he was abundantly clear that he was going to be ending wars, not starting new wars. And while I wouldn't say he's started a new war, I would say he's, in basically every case, the world is forcing him to show that he's willing to use the stick. And his promises made it sound like, I'm just going to make a phone call and this is going to be over. And so for anybody that bought into that, this is a pretty shitty moment.
Yeah. And hey, man, it's keep going, because I feel like if you start to stack all these things, it starts to become, his resume is looking flawed. He thought he was going to bring the deficit down. He hasn't. He was going to release the files. He hasn't. He was going to these wars. He hasn't. We're 6 months in, though, so I definitely don't want to get too excited on, like, see, I told you, it's all. Yeah. He still has a complete majority in Congress, the House, Senate. So in another year from now, he could be this could be a completely different situation. So we'll see what happens. We got a couple super chats we need to get through.
Let's go.
First off, we want to get a super chat for Dan. Thank you, Dan, for the 1999 super chat. Just found out yesterday that Clinton didn't have a surplus. They claimed the borrowed money, Social Security money, as income on the official balance sheet. Yet more dirt under the Overton window of our fiat system. That would be devastating if that was false. That's Dan Clark.
Can we pull these up so I can see them? Is there a way?
No monitor.
To do with that? How do I see them on my side? Is there like, can you click on it?
Nah. Yeah. If you go on this.
Look at that.
Yeah, you got them.
There we go. Yep. That was from Rue.
No, Dan Clark at the top.
Dan Clark. No, that I don't have the ability.
Oh, faded out. One more time. Just found out yesterday that Clinton didn't have a surplus. They claimed the borrowed Social Security money as income on the official balance sheet.
All right, we'd have to look into that. I've not heard that. That is the first I'm hearing of it.
Yeah.
Would that be good or bad news?
It would show that the government hasn't had a surplus, and that'll make it 40 years.
Yeah, but the math is where the math is. it'd be bad news from a spin perspective. I love the idea that people believe that there was a disciplined fiscal policy that we had deployed previously that got people excited about it. Should only ever pursue what's true, but because we're so many years beyond it, from that perspective, it doesn't matter. So this is really just a question of what does this say from a spin perspective?
Copy that. John Cragness says, please cover the responsibilities the Bill of Rights protect. BOR is to allow us to fulfill these duties as they are necessary to the success of our nation and populace.
Yeah.
We have been failing as a nation to fulfill duties.
Yeah, so I mean, this is interesting. I think this comes down partly to largely the left's divorce from God, because the whole idea of there are inalienable rights and that the state just needs to stay the hell out of it. Once you lose that, then it becomes, well, I don't like the way the world looks. So this is like freedom of speech. You can actually get a democratically elected, I think he was a senator at the time, John Kerry, to say that the First Amendment is the buzzsaw into which everyone who tries to stop misinformation runs into. And like, we have to do something about that. And I was like, what?
It's amendment number one.
Dude, this is so crazy. It's so absurd. So when you believe that like, yo, individuals are sovereign entities and whatever comes out of letting them be sovereign individuals, then that's what you have to deal with. I like that. That is the ethos for me. So yeah, the Bill of Rights, love it the most. 1 and 2, I think, are pretty important, which is crazy. I never thought that I would be super into the second one, but it's like that is the stick. It's like, dear government, boy, I'd really like to work with you. You do a lot of cool infrastructure things. You make sure that I don't have to be bigger and stronger than my neighbor. I love that. You facilitate economic growth. It's amazing. Thank you. Appreciate it. P.S. This is a two-way street. And if you think that you can push me around because you're bigger than me, I have a room full of very high-powered weapons that say otherwise. And I don't get off on channeling that energy, but it's like, I like to know that I have the option, because governments tend towards tyranny. And no, I don't think people should be able to have nuclear weapons in their downstairs basement. But I do think that...
I don't think I asked you that question. Like, are you cool with like assault rifles and all that other stuff? Yeah, I understand the premise of it, and I understand that school shooters are a thing and they should be locked up. And I do think that parents have some modicum of responsibility if it does get to that point. But at the same time, I don't think that is a broad one-step regulation just because something like that could happen, has happened, etc. All right, next super chat. We got Rude Hero. Still been learning this topic. Free speech is important. However, don't you think that free speech works better in society where folks have manners and have enough decorum to be polite while receiving their free speech? Are mentally ill, angry Karens justified in hurtful speech?
Yes, you're not wrong, but at the same time, I look at history and I see nothing but unending bloodshed, death, and mayhem. And that once we realized how important the scientific method was to advancement, we realized, we have to let people think out loud. And so this is how all of this stuff comes to be. America, I believe, was the first people to enshrine freedom of speech in the Constitution. And I don't think it's an accident that we then became the most innovative country in the world. Humans are prone to bad ideas, to getting locked in bad ideas. And when you don't allow people to battle those ideas out loud, if you don't allow the most fringe voice in the world, but they may see something that we don't, to say the crazy ass thing that they believe that they see, the way that humans learn from other humans, like you discover this very quickly in a writer's room, that sometimes it's not what the person says, it's what the person says makes you think. And so they say a thing and you're like, oh, that's dumb, but you just made me think. And that's how things progress. So I think it is a price to pay that every fool can pop off. But if you don't do that, you have a totalitarian state where you will be put in a position where you have to use force to silence people. There are some people that just aren't going to shut up. And once you're like, yeah, I'm willing to use force. It's like, how's that working out for you in immigration? Like, not fun, right? When you force it to go all the way to that. But the reality is, people are going to do what people are going to do until they hit an opposing force, either culturally or physically, that makes it impossible for them to keep marching forward. You've got to have law and order. Everything exists inside of that bucket. Now, if law and order can come from politeness, cultural values, great. That probably carries more weight than I think a lot of people want to admit. But ultimately, people get violent, and the most violent people will rise to the top unless you come together as the physically weaker but smarter people that can use systems to hold those things at bay.
That's interesting that you bring the immigration point up, because I think that's a great way to physically manifest that point, because it's like there's some people that think that we shouldn't enforce borders. Like, we should enforce borders. Immigration shouldn't be this free-for-all. So now when it's time to enforce it, you have horses and people taking over MacArthur Park. Now, if we applied that same thing to free speech, yes, maybe on day one, we're sending letters to people's houses, we're knocking on doors in Home Depot, but who knows, in day 2, day 100, year 14, people aren't now on those horses, on those walking through MacArthur Park, because you guys are having a protest, or because somebody said a speech
Tiananmen Square
on something. Yeah, so
like this played out in China. People wanted to say something. The government didn't want them to say it. You can put social pressure on them for a while. Maybe you've got some economic pressure, but eventually they show up and they're like, "We're here to fight," and the only way to back them down is to kill them. And so I joke about this all the time. That you've got people popping off, like if you've ever seen the South Park meme where it's like how they used to deal with ADHD. One kid's going crazy, gets slapped. It's like you slap a couple of them and you don't have to slap the rest. But governments literally go, we will keep killing you until the rest of you go home. And that just, it is true. It happens all the time. And I don't know, people seem blind to that. We've had it too good for too long. And I wonder if Mouse Utopia really is like the real psychological thing, that when things go too well for too long and nobody has to struggle, that they turn inward and they tear the otherwise completely safe and fine society to pieces. And we're in that weird delusional state right now because we have no real like enemy to push back on. We're just like pushing back on everything. It is so bizarre to me.
Yeah, that made me think of Rudyard. What if all his?
Yeah.
Shout out to him. We gotta get him back on.
No doubt. Shout out.
And last super chat, we got RJ Johnson. What's up, RJ? Tom, after spending 5 years doing doctoral studies in philosophy of religion, I've become a believer in God. The clearest proof is contained in the Star Trek episode, TNG episode, Who Watches the Watchers? Will you watch it for me? ?
No. But if you want to give me like the punchline right now, people think that I have not looked at religion, and that is how I've ended up here. I used to be deeply religious. So yeah,
what does that mean, deeply religious?
Not an unexamined life. Going to church, singing the songs, praying every night, having a relationship with God, etc., etc.
You never read the Bible, though, you said.
So, aren't you the one that's like there's a difference in, and so I've read pieces. Yeah. I have certainly heard amounts of it come back, but let's put me to the test.
No, I challenge you that I think if you did the exact opposite, you'll have a different take. So if you would have never went to church, if you would have never sang the songs, if you would have never prayed every day, but you read the Bible every week and like got through the Bible once or twice, you would have the exact opposite take. Nope. I will put money on that. I'll put all the money in the world. Every Bitcoin.
Remember, I own. I am the guy that is like, what's the cause and effect? Yeah. What are the physics of the situation? That's where religion breaks down. So, but it's also why I can tell you, hey, religion's really useful. Religion is the OG self-help book. God bless religion. Religion is one of the most important things that allows us to cooperate flexibly with strangers. It's amazing. I am as worried about the death of religion as Nietzsche was. I just don't believe. So,
Brooklyn said it best. You don't know God without reading the Bible. All right, we got another hill to die on, guys.
Whoa.
You don't. I'm telling you,
don't get to make statements
I'm
like
telling
that
you don't.
And drive by. So, okay, are you telling me that the Bible is a magic sequence of words that, if you believe, the truth of the universe opens up before you?
Yes.
Okay. Can the Bible be translated?
To different languages?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. Can the Bible be summarized?
Yes.
Perfect. Summarize the Bible for me.
Ooh, summarizing the Bible for you is like asking Einstein to summarize physics for you.
Yes, which can be done, by the way. And everybody in physics says, you've gotten to the thing when you can say it simply.
Okay.
So what I'm saying is religion is very simple. Christianity, I know so well. I've grown up in the waters of Christianity. There's not going to be some revelation in the Bible that I haven't heard about that people are keeping the Talmud secret, and so only certain people that go into the fucking room can see it.
That's the manipulation of it all, though, and that's my hill to die on. Is that the more that I get into the Bible, the more I realize that half the people. It's man manipulating people. Times is hard. It's a populist moment.
Yes.
And there's a lot of priests who need money too. There's a lot of preachers who need money too.
Sure.
In third world countries, the number 2 most successful career is farm and pastor. It becomes a opportunity. It's just like all these Bitcoin bros who see somebody selling courses.
Do you think I left religion because I found something bad?
No, I'm not saying that. But what I'm saying is that there are grifters just like there are in every other.
But that hasn't had anything to do with why I was
But getting to the point of it, if you only took business advice by YouTube people, you have a much fundamentally different.
Why do you think I turned away from religion?
I don't know. We never had that conversation.
Right. So,
but I'm responding to, I went to church, I did all the things, I'm good. And I'm saying, I'm using that comparison as if you only listen to YouTubers on how to build a business, it's fundamentally different than somebody who actually built a business, who actually went through all the minutiae, who actually went through the steps. And I'm saying those two viewpoints are different, and you're getting different frame of reference that can inform your hypothesis and your decisions. So I'm saying...
Let me try this one more way.
Yeah.
The Bible is a magic sequence of words that unlocks the universe before you. How many years after the death of Jesus was the Bible written?
It was written concurrently.
No?
Because it was first orally translated, and then it was encompassed all at once.
Yeah, but if the Bible itself is a magic sequence of words that unlocks the universe, that magic sequence of words was not committed in that order, in that way. There was a whole
but you can't say magic
debate about what books do we include, what books do we not include. So we came up with hundreds of years after his death the magic sequence of words that unlocks the universe before you.
But going back to your exact point, it was debated.
My exact point is that there were still people that were hyper religious that whole time. You did not need the Bible. The Bible came long after. People were so committed that they were like, I'm willing to die for this, all of that. So the Bible isn't the point. The point was a dude did a thing that made people go, oh my God, this is incredible. And if you believe that he was the Son of God, then it paints over all of the why should you do this and becomes the ultimate because I said so. And now you get people to take the self-help book very seriously, because every time I'm like, but wait, why this? Because I said so, because I'm God, and therefore it just is.
You just told me Christianity, you didn't tell me anything about God. And I want you to know that that's the point that I'm trying to make right now.
But you're saying that the book of Christians is a magic sequence of words that opens the universe up before you. And I'm saying that is the point that we disagree on.
Because you said, I'm going directly to your last point. The last point that you just made was that if you believe in this guy and he's going to wash over everything, and that's the ultimate I told you so. So that's the point, not the Bible is the point. And I'm saying that is the manipulation that we're currently involved in right now, is that people think it's as easy as listen to this story, listen to this sermon, flip the point, and you're good now. And now I'm saying you're missing the point by doing that.
What you said a minute ago, and then we should probably move off, this is so random for us, is that if I had not gone to church and all of that, and I had instead just read the Bible every week, that I would have realized the truth of it.
There would have been different understandings than hearing it from somebody else second.
I'd have a different understanding, sure, but I would still, I'm willing to bet a whole lot of money, would have drawn the same conclusions.
Mm-hmm. And that's where I think but you can't say that because you never did it.
Yeah, but you can't say that because I've never did it either. Neither of us know the counterfactual, but you're making very bold claims about it. And I'm just saying I will make an equally bold claim as the person who actually lived it and is inside my head, for better or worse, all the time. I can tell you how I have parsed information like that my entire life. Some of which, like the Tao Te Ching, I had no formal teachings, but just read the book. And same thing, I was super in it for a while, and then was like, okay, I get the parts of this that are useful, but this has no religious reverberations for me. So I did not become a Taoist priest, which I had actually considered at one point. I was just like, yeah, no. Like these things are useful, but at the end of the day, remember, I believe we live in a deterministic universe. I believe we are chemical processing plants. And so while there isn't a lot of romance to that, I'm just like, for whatever reason, there obviously is something I don't know. Like I'm not some diehard atheist, and I'm just like, I don't know what it is. So anybody that tries to write it down in a book, I'm like, oh, that's interesting. That's a fun human interpretation of this thing where we're like, whoa, there's something, man. What is this? Love it, get it, but once it becomes specific, I'm like, no.
Ribsy, shout out to Ribsy. He's giving me a translation that might help you.
Let's go.
I saw the live action One Piece on Netflix. It wasn't good, therefore anime sucks.
Okay, word.
No, I'm saying that's an analogy of the stream of logic.
You guys think that that's what I'm saying. What I'm saying is the only purpose of the Bible is to get you to live a good life. And the way that they do it is by saying, hey, there's this God in the sky that has created all this stuff. And if you live in accordance with this, you're going to live a good life. And I'm just saying, oh, word, a lot of good advice. But the reasoning behind it is obviously fiction. So I'm just like, I'm not going to live my life according to the fiction part, but all the like self-help stuff I love. Let's go. I'm here for it. But I don't want to be blinded to what's actually going on, because I take this easy thing that we've been telling ourselves for 2,000 years and go, oh, cool, this is the one, because also people tend to kill each other over this stuff. So now, if you really want to get into an interesting position, I think that we're about to watch Judeo-Christian beliefs collide with Islam. And I'm like, this is interesting. I don't believe in either of them. And yet I come squarely down on Judeo-Christian ethics. So it's like, this is wild. I'm now going to have to fight for a belief system that is based on something that I think is totally like not real. But the values are so real that I'm like, this is interesting. So yeah, that's going to be the battle over the next 20 years for the, let's call it the soul of America. I come down very clearly on a side, which is based on religion, a religion I don't believe in, but think has output something that's incredibly amazing.
You know, as much as you hate when we talk about religion.
I don't hate this. This is, if I thought we weren't going to lose our audience, I would keep talking about this.
I feel like
I find this super fascinating.
Okay. We will get to that. We will get to that. RJ Johnson, thank you for another $20 super chat. Grok 4 is beyond belief. I've already done some incredible work with it. Totally worth the $300 month for the heavy version. Have you jumped into Grok 4 yet?
I have used Super Grok. Is that Grok 4? If Super Grok is Grok 4, yes. If Grok 4 is actually a thing, then no. But this has come out in the last few days. First of all, shout out to my wife.
Oh, she's in the chat? Hey!
Yes, who I am missing right now, for we are apart. But seeing you in the chat, my love, you have no idea. Yay, baby.
Elon has made some bold claims about it, saying that it is the first AI that can genuinely solve problems that aren't on the internet. Which I know you're big.
If it can, because he was talking about, he had a discussion with it about material science, and it was saying things that nobody had talked about before. Man, if it can do that, that is going to be transformational. That is how you begin really making progress, is when it sees patterns that nobody has seen before. Ooh, if it can, leaps of insight might be something different, unless leaps of insight themselves are merely pattern recognition. That I don't know yet, but that would be incredible. I have not seen anything like that in my engagement with Super Grok. But
your boy Tim Sweeney jumped into the conversation. Elon retweeted him. He said, Grok 4 feels like artificial general intelligence to me. It is clearly not just constructing statistically likely connections. Can we throw this up, G? But is drawing fairly deep insights on problems it hasn't been before in ways I haven't seen elsewhere. Here's an example. He shares it. The biggest shortcoming I see is the adoption of confused musing from online forums as facts, coupled with the inability to derive deep insights from intermingled prose and graphics and sources. It needs contextual skepticism and more multimodal visual learning. Also, I bet there are hundreds of thousands of topics where a human professional could write a definitive guidebook on topics that online forum posters frequently confuse, and they could be used to fine-tune a lot of the low-quality user content-driven nonsense out of current AI models. So there is something to that on the backs of our free speech conversation, where Einstein can write a dissertation. Somebody can then challenge that dissertation. Grok looks at it not in the same way, but it's gaining the same internet internet sources as equals, and it has to have some type of ranking system or prioritization. And I think that's where this AGI turning the corner needs, where it needs to independently think and not just scan every pattern, and kind of output.
Yeah, I don't know how they're going to end up pushing that discernment down to the actual BIOS layer. I don't know what the right way to think about that is in AI from a technical perspective. But right now, you're just relying on humans to do reinforcement learning to say, yeah, that was a good answer. No, that was a bad answer. But like, how do you give it a set of values or an orienting mechanism? That's the part that hopefully the AI researchers understand the problem and are working on that, which, you know, they're obviously going to be infinitely deeper on this than I am. But that's where we have to get to, where you can try to trick an AI with a novel problem and it detects the trick. And just like a human can detect, like, not all, but as you like go up the intelligence scale, humans can more rapidly detect the BS. They can more rapidly detect the falsities and nuanced differences. Like when you watch people debate, like all the rhetorical tricks that people play, like if an AI can start detecting those and understand how people do those games that even humans fall prey to, it's like that's where this starts to get very interesting. But how you do that without just reinforcement learning, that I don't know. We'll see.
We're getting to it. We're getting to it. We got 2 more super chats. That's Dantastic said, Bible religion deep dive. When? Question mark.
Quite literally.
A religion deep dive would be good though, and then just the history of religion, the history of religious wars, going back to the Crusades all the way to now. That would be interesting.
To what end?
To show that Israel, Gaza, Iran isn't unique to this moment.
So specifically religious wars?
I'm painting a picture. You get dirty pitch.
Yeah, I'd have to think about like what am I trying to warn people about in their own psychology? Like the way that we get caught up in ideas. I don't know. Maybe there's something there, and then religion becomes one part of that.
Like as of right now, there is a sect of people that blame Islam as opposed to blaming the circumstance might have led that. If we would have did this, if we were in the same moment 1,000 years ago, you would have then blamed Christianity. If we were in this moment 2,000 years ago, you would have blamed whatever Genghis Khan believed in. You know what I mean? So
don't fall prey to it. That's the interesting part, is the very thing that you're asking me to write. You are going to hate the conclusion. You're going to hate the part where I'm like, okay, and here's how you avoid getting trapped by these ideologies.
Burn religion. All religion
can go away. It won't be that, because I really think that would be problematic. I think religion and the need to keep house prices low, to me, are the same phenomenon, which is religion is the only thing that everybody at every level of intellect can be moved by. So very smart people can get into religion, and very dumb people can get into religion. So I can say, here's a book that tells you how to live. Go do what the book says. And a smart person will have all the depth they need, and a dumb person has the like 10 commandments. And they're like, oh, okay, cool. Got it. So there's also, it gives you that feeling of like, there's this thing that loves me no matter what, and it just feels so good. And even though I'm a fallen creature, like it has this neuroprotective effect. Religion is fascinating. Fascinating. So yeah, you're never going to hear me say burn religion down. You're never going to hear me like poo-poo somebody that's into religion. If somebody pushes me on what I believe, then I'm going to be honest about what I believe. But I'm not opposed to religion. I don't get turned on by atheism. Like religion plays a profound role. I think that there is a lock and key mechanism in our brain where everybody wants to kneel before something. And
you got a God-sized hole that we need to fill.
We have a God-sized hole. That's exactly correct. So some people fill that with really terrible stuff.
And for the record, I never defended religion. I only defend God.
Fair.
Not your day. Thank you for your Canadian $27.99 super chat. From months ago, Charles Hockinson was on the Sean Ryan pod this week. Respectfully wanted to say I was shocked you were so quick to write him off from what you heard about him. Do you believe all rumors? Question mark. Interview him. Smiley face. Thanks.
Who?
Charles Hockinson. Oh. He was the founder of Ethereum, I think.
No. That's Vitalik. He is. Oh God, he is the founder of a
crypto.
Chain. I forget what chain.
I don't know what rumor. What was the rumors about him?
Yeah, I'm not even sure what the rumors are. I have mild interest in Charles
Hoskins.
I don't know a lot about him one way or the other. Don't feel strongly for or against. If he starts popping off and he's got interesting things to say, I'm all for it. So yeah, I'm not entrenched in any direction.
Yeah, Cardano and Ethereum founder.
Cardano.
Yeah.
Was he part of the Ethereum team?
Mm-hmm. According to the
Vitalik
Sean Ryan pod.
is like known as the founder of Ethereum, but it's possible, I guess, that there were other people.
Yeah, takes more than one to
Yeah.
create
So if
something.
anybody knows in the chat, literally no, laughing my ass off. There is no such thing. We're back to Christianity. Never mind. That was about. Cardano is on the Ethereum chain. Got it. Yes, he was a co-founder of Ethereum. Interesting. Okay. Well, let's go.
Okay.
We'll have to look into it.
Yeah, I'm gonna be honest. I don't have. He co-founded but grew apart.
Really fast. Steplurkin. Well said. I think that's how you would say their name. But they said, "I love that this community will hash through disagreements respectfully and listen and not leave." Preach.
Yeah, we need more of that. Okay. I'm really trying to see, like, did he do something, like, what happened with Cardano? Like, now I'm being nosy. Chat, help me out.
Stop lurking. Okay. Good call.
So with Bitcoin, us talking about crypto now, Bitcoin did hit a new all-time high.
Yes, it did.
Peak it hit was 118. Of course, it kind of did the bounce off of the top and come back down. Some estimates have 140. Internally, that's what some of our guys in the team were talking about. Arthur Hayes wrote a paper. That's my boy. He's been like 5 for 5 in his advice lately. So I've been like, all right, I'm on team Arthur Hayes. He estimates 200,000, 400 next year, like aggressively. He thinks it goes like exponential at this point because people just understand the money printing thing after Trump does it. How are you feeling about Bitcoin? You was telling us off camera, everybody's getting lobsters tonight. We're doing it. So how are you feeling about crypto right now?
I mean, listen, you have to avoid the emotional highs and lows. So for the most part, I just don't even look at it. I've got a long-term belief that Bitcoin is going to resonate with people as a digital store of wealth. It does have superior properties to gold. Even talking to my money managers, I'm trying to move more money. I'm trying to get out of government debt for reasons that I hope anybody in this audience will be like, well, he actually believes what he says. So trying to get out of government debt. And I was like, hey, I want to hold physical gold. And they're like, well, we can't help you with that. And you're going to have insurance. You got to hire a Brinks truck and all this stuff. And like when you really start looking at it, it's like, God damn. And I obviously don't want the gold bars at my house for reasons that I trust will also be self-evident. So it's like, I was like, God, man, even just like, because I've said many times, like I'm as deployed as I'm going to get into Bitcoin because I have so much money there. And by the way, I hope my wife is still in the feed because, yeah, she's put a lot of faith in me in terms of my economic assessment of things. And, you know, when I was buying Bitcoin years and years ago now, I'm sure she was like, oh, God. Because I know at one point when I told her just how much we had in Bitcoin, she almost had a stroke. And so it's working out. Ah, my wife, you're there, baby. We're finally rich. So yeah, we are
we
very we made it. We're up a whole lot of dollars. So I feel good about it. But the ultimate play on that is don't trust yourself too much. Be very careful. This stuff is still super volatile. So I'm more, when I see Bitcoin going up, what I really see is the dollar going down. So that is happening
right now. Yeah, the dollar's
that's what scares me is that so many people are going to get obliterated. And I know a lot of people are very comfortable as long as there's a life raft and anybody smart enough to get on Bitcoin, like they feel good about that. I'm not going to feel good about that. Like if I have spent, here's a religious statement that means a lot to me, Drew.
I love it. I love it.
You ready?
It comes through everybody. He uses everybody.
There, but for the grace of God go I. And I don't feel that I've done anything to earn whatever intellect I may possess. I did not do anything to earn that. So I'm like, yo, if I just wasn't, like, I just can't understand physics. And so I'm like, I feel slighted by God, be very honest. But I can just barely understand economics. And so I'm like, ooh, what about all the people that can't understand economics? They're cooked. they're in a system that's going to manipulate and steal from them, and they have no idea how to defend themselves. And so they're going to get obliterated. And so when Bitcoin bros are like, ha ha ha, like you should have gotten in crypto, I'm like, that's grotesque. They're just people, they can't find their way to that. And because I'm not we got to build a safety net and protect everybody. It's like, just architect a system that doesn't steal. Like, that's my thing. Yeah. So I'm
gonna be honest.
Gonna be rough.
I think we're at a really important time in Bitcoin, crypto in general. But I want to parse some things out because everybody talks about crypto. Robert Breedlove, I think, says it the best. Crypto is not Bitcoin. Bitcoin is not crypto. We use those interchangeably, but there's nuances in between it. So starting at like the very, very headline level, do you mess with like altcoins, anything else?
Not even a little bit.
So you're 100% Bitcoin when you speak about it? Okay.
Okay.
But I mean, like I'm taking Bitcoin, Ethereum, like the transfer ones out as well.
Here's how I think about crypto. Crypto is a technology. That technology makes a lot of things possible. A lot of those things that it makes possible are awesome. Crypto has really cool implications in video games, and I cannot wait for people to see. And I don't mean that monetarily at all. I mean, it allows for something I call borderless entertainment, where now I can put, this is going to sound terrible, but I can put a private tracking device on your phone that you control completely. And you can decide if that little private tracker allows you to interface with your favorite video game. If you'll grant me AR glasses, now I can give you a video game experience when you're out walking around in the world, triggered by things that you physically move past. And how do I know to trigger them? Because you have a cryptographic
unique identifier.
You have a token. There's so many, like, people have such negative like associations with these little tokens, but it opens up, as a storyteller, it opens up a universe of storytelling, the likes of which we've never seen. But like the way that it was pitched in the beginning, it was like the pro-crypto people wanted people to understand the technology. And it was like, my whole thing was, they're never going to care about the technology. Don't sell it that way. Give them a dope story. And they'll be like, this is amazing. They don't need to understand that it's done using cryptographic techniques. Okay, another thing that it opens up is it allows you to create an uninflatable currency. Amazing. So you make gold. So right now, gold only exists because of exploding stars. Crypto gives you another way to do something I would say is even better than that, which is you're mathematically making something scarce. And so that's incredible. And so as long as everybody goes, oh, that's the thing that we care about, then it works. And people, much to my shock, horror, and dismay, they will tell you that there's intrinsic value to gold. There is not. There's intrinsic value to calories. There's intrinsic value to something that can keep you warm. But there's no intrinsic value to gold. So, and people are going to say it's used in industry. The amount of gold's value that's tied to its industrial use is so low that gold is not something we talk about because of its use in industrial stuff. So there are things that are used far more in industrial applications than gold. So let us please not be ridiculous. Bitcoin and Ethereum are the two that I buy because I think that there's the most belief in them for what they do. I think of them as two very separate phenomena. One is call it the computer of the future. It's the thing like the gaming thing that I was talking about. It's going to be Ethereum, I think, will be the main chain for that. It'll be like layer 2 and stuff like that to get the really high, cheap throughput. But anyway, I think that will be the big mamma jamma. Everything else is about gambling. If you like gambling, awesome. Like, I don't have a beef. Like, go do your thing. One of the many uses of cryptography is that it allows you to create to tokenize a cultural moment and let people gamble with it. Cool. But they're all like, this is a technology that makes a whole lot of things possible.
I remember I heard a Nipsey Hussle song, and he was talking about how his brother buried money for like a hard time, dug up the money a couple months later, and it was like molded and rotted, and you didn't know that like money like deteriorates like slowly. What do you say to people that say Bitcoin should be used as like an exchange, like an exchange of currency. You're supposed to buy and pay things with it, versus the store of wealth argument that Bitcoin should be buy, hold, treat it like gold. You don't actually physically use it anymore.
Yeah, I think that with Bitcoin, you could certainly do both, but I think you're going to find a huge reticence to do that because people understand if I spend it today, it could be worth more tomorrow. I'd rather hold it. So it certainly functions more as a store of wealth / asset to hide from inflation. It's very correlated right now with a risk on stock. So I think it's the most fair analysis on how Bitcoin is actually being treated in the real world is like a digital stock market bet. Yeah. It's like, do I think the stock of people's belief in the stock of Bitcoin will go up or down? And that's how people are treating it. So I'm a little bit in an AI ETF. I'm a little bit in Bitcoin. I'm a little like that's how people are treating it right now. But the reason that Bitcoin is interesting is because it acts as a store of wealth. So that's the closest thing you're going to get to this thing has intrinsic value. But people that like beat their chest and say it doesn't have intrinsic value, like there's all they're really saying is, I don't think the public belief in this thing will last long. Okay, like that's your bet. So, but at the end of the day, when they say that they're into gold, just channeling Peter Schiff for a second, what Peter Schiff is saying is the public belief in gold as a storehold of wealth has lasted for thousands of years. So I have high belief in that. Yeah, me too. I think that because gold has worked that way, it's going to work that way for a long time. Now, will the rise of Bitcoin cause a dampening in the value of gold? Yes, I think as people die off, they're going to realize, well, gold's like okay as a store of wealth, but it's not great anymore because it's such a pain in the ass to deal with. It can be confiscated, has been confiscated. It's harder to move, blah, blah, blah. So from that perspective, it doesn't strike me as functional as Bitcoin. And when somebody grows up in the transitional moment like we're all in now, you look at it and you go, ooh, I'm scared. Like Bitcoin's only been around for whatever, 13, 14, 15 years. And so it's like, do I really have the faith in that I have in something that's been around for thousands of years? Maybe no. But Lynn is just, she's always heard about Bitcoin. Bitcoin's always been a thing. So for her, it's like Bitcoin has always existed, will always exist. Like there's no sense of the like newness of it for her. And so every generation that grows up where this is just, it's always been talked about, it's always a ticker on the screen, people on TikTok are talking about it all the time, they're just going to be like, oh, Bitcoin is real. And because people lose sight of their frame of reference is that Bitcoin is real, Bitcoin is believed in, Bitcoin number go up, it's just going to be accepted. So as boomers die off, as Gen Xers start dying off, it will just be like, Bitcoin. So for that reason, I think that it, in my opinion, only has one hurdle left to overcome, and that's quantum will break standard cryptography. So it will have to make itself impervious to quantum code cracking. But if it can do that, and I don't see any reason why it can't, it's the one that won.
Should I worry about that? Because I treat that as like two-factor authentication. Like I know now I can't have all lowercase passwords or the word password as my password.
Right. So it's a step in the right direction.
You know what I mean? So I feel like when quantum comes online, there's going to be some type of equivalent of that. I'm like, okay, now instead of a 12-word hash, it's going to be a 36-word hash and a physical biometric confirmation or something like that. Like I think, shouldn't the security step up once the quantum technology advances?
Yes, and they're going to have to find a way to make it impossible for a quantum computer to hack the network. You have to. Otherwise, if you're relying just on the end user, people are going to be like, no, I'm not here for that game. So I need to know that this thing is protected. Otherwise, now you're back to, I'd rather just have a physical brick of gold sitting somewhere.
Because you can't hack that.
Yeah, well, I mean, you really can. You can literally, you're transporting it and you don't pay a Brinks truck and they just rob you. So there are no solutions, only trade-offs.
We saw the Italian job. Can you hit me with that super chat button, please? We got a new super chat.
Let's go.
Step Lurkin, thank you for your first super chat. Welcome to the chat. Appreciate you.
Was that Stop Lurking?
Yes, the STP.
Yep.
Can you hash through how governments and banks will fight back against Bitcoin? The Fed and fiat won't go away quietly.
Yeah, that is true. That's why the Trump administration has been huge. And while I don't think that the Trump administration is only a series of L's, there are plenty of L's, But they really are pro crypto. They really are pro AI. And I think that that's absolutely critical. And so you're not going to see fighting back over the next 3.5 years. Now, if they lose and you lose the presidency, you lose the House, maybe even lose the Senate, then you could see all this unwind. And so this is why you need to vote for the things that matter to you, and remember that this is the game that we play. Like, we bounce back and forth. So speak up, scream for what you want. Don't let people take your stuff, and don't buy into the narrative that this is all for drug dealers and stuff. This is the dumbest thing in the world, since it is so transparent. You can see exactly what wallets have what, where they move it. You can track it all back.
Do you think that Bitcoin and fiat are going to like intertwine though? Because there is Bitcoin ETFs now. There are companies that are so heavily invested in Bitcoin that
when you
stock
say
prices.
intertwine, you're going to need to specifically tell me what you mean by that.
When I got into crypto, I was in my boy's basement. It was like 2 a.m. after a club in LA. And it was very much like, come here, I got to tell you something. The government is taking all your money, but if you go to crypto, you'll be free. They can't track you. You can't tax it. Like, that was kind of the initial lure for me.
Yep.
But I feel nowadays Goldman Sachs offers like a Bitcoin option. So it's becoming more mainstream. And in that, I think the fiat system and the crypto system are getting closer and closer and closer.
TradFi.
Or Trad, maybe that's a better way.
Yeah. TradFi and crypto have already merged and will continue to merge. And you see some people in the crypto community, they're not here for that.
Yeah.
So they'll always be able to create the blue ocean strategy of like, and now this one's outside the system. But I don't think that's really what people are going to care about. What people care about is that we live in a fiat money system. The government inflates my money. They can invisibly tax me. And so the only thing you have to watch out for is the government will try to find more and more ways to tax Bitcoin, which is why you wanted it treated as property, which as of right now, I believe the classification is property. So like gold, they're not going to tax your gold even as the gold price goes up, and they shouldn't be able to tax your Bitcoin even as the price goes up, because those are all phantom gains. And so they should only be able to tax you at the time where you sell that asset. So if you sell that asset, then you're going to get cap gains. And this is why you want cap gains fees to be low, Drew, not high.
I'm with you. RJ Johnson, thank you for another super chat. We appreciate you. Tom, if you believe we are living in a simulation, then the programmers are the Elohim. In the Star Trek episode, a Gargarian society is being watched.
Yep.
Some people here in a away team talk to Picard, and he becomes their god.
Okay.
He was trying to explain the Star Trek episode that would turn you into a believer.
Okay, so this is where, see, everybody thinks I'm confused. Even Drew thinks I'm confused.
I don't think
And I will take the Pepsi challenge. No one is going to explain something to me where I go, oh my God, that's all right. And now I do believe that God exists. Remember, my statement of fact is only this. We don't know what created all of this. And so my only beef is when people write down, they're like, no, it was this guy, he acts this way. And I'm just like, nope. There is something. There is something we collectively as humans do not understand. And I'm in awe of that thing. And I am captivated by the mystery of the universe. Captivated. I am not saying there is no being that is higher than us. I'm saying it seems impossible to believe that there is nothing higher than us. Why is there something instead of nothing? I'm just saying that humans have attempted to write down what this thing is, and they are not correct. Now, I didn't say their writings weren't useful. The writings are useful. And I love that people have access to that. And I love that there is a thing that everybody of every intellectual level can embrace and be like, yo, this fills that God-shaped hole in my heart. This gives me a direction in life. This gives me something that I can appeal to, like drug addicts, talking about like, God was the thing that saved me. Now, do you think I run over to that guy and I'm like, God isn't real, dummy? I'm like, yo, that's beautiful. I love that. I'm so happy for you. So Yeah, like I can even sit and listen to people like tell me about your relationship with God. Like I find it super engaging. This is somebody that's telling me, Tom, I've built a frame of reference in my mind that you might not believe is literally true, but it's given me all of these things. And I am enraptured by that. I'm like, wow, this is incredible. And hey, like you, I have built a frame of reference in my mind off of something totally different that gives me all of the same things that you have. The sense of wonder, the sense of being a part of something bigger than myself, the sense of honoring myself and others by adherence to a value set that is what I call honorable. I have all of those same things that people have. Now, I think certainly for my personality, I have a thing that stops me from getting trapped because I don't have to force all of my beliefs through the very, very, very narrow and concrete like choke point of the written word of any religion. So that feels very freeing to me. But I get what people are doing with religion. I think that it touches many, 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 many people's lives in an incredibly beautiful way, and I would never want to dissuade them of that. So it's only when people ask me. But my beef with RJ's thing is, and you, quite frankly, you guys think I'm confused. And so you think, oh, if only he understood it the way I understand it, then he would heaven would open up for him and he would have this beautiful relationship and all would be well. And I'm saying, I'm not confused. I just disagree.
Yeah. For the record, that's not my position. My position is once you read, you establish your direct connection. There's a whole summary as you go through the Bible, you'll realize he gets called different things by different people. So depending on what you need and what is the hole, your God-shaped hole is different than my God-shaped hole. There's certain things that affect me that wouldn't affect you and vice versa. Yep. So then that's why I say if you go that direction, you'll find the thing that tethers you to it. I'll throw that aside for a second. When you started this, you said you think you don't know how everything was organized, and your official position is nobody knows. Correct. So is that your position that you just think we don't know?
That is correct. My official position is we don't know.
Copy. Okay, going back to capital gains and Bitcoin and why capital gains is such a bad tax. They did bring up a good point. Capital gains needs to be applied when it can be used as collateral for a loan. This is absurdly wild. There is this thing that when you can use stocks as collateral, whether it's a line of credit or a loan itself, to borrow against, and that's why you can have income. I'm not gonna call it profit or anything, but you can have income that you can use for day-to-day things. You can buy things for it. You have to pay it back, yes, but you're not getting taxed on it, and you don't get taxed on that loan. So you can pretty much keep all your money in stocks, not have to take the stock out, but you can loan for it endlessly. And as your portfolio grows, it doesn't get impacted by taxes. So it's a loophole that is available there. Do you have a beef?
That loophole is available on all property. So think about your home. Would you like to be taxed on that when you take
if you take a home equity loan? I feel like if I take a loan out of my 401k, I'm taxed on it.
Okay. Do we love that, or do we want to stop that?
I'm just saying that is something that is being used to manipulate the system in a way that might capture more.
We call it manipulate? So here's we've got to get people back on board with the following. The government does not deserve your money. If the government would like to show up and start making decisions on my behalf and make me rich, then the government can start taking more of my shit. But the reality is the government does not do that. The government throws up roadblocks at every turn. The government keeps increasing the debt ceiling, stealing more of my money through money printing, making decisions that I disagree with. And so I'm just saying, let's all calm down. The government is wildly inefficient. Get your shit together before you keep asking for more money. If you have a child that comes to you and they are wasting money on every dumb thing on earth, and they come back and say, I need more money, and you're like, why do you need more money? And they can't even tell you what they spent their money on, you're gonna be like, hold on. I want you to be happy. I wanna give you things. I wanna make sure that you have money and that you can survive and that everything is great. But if you keep pissing money away, I'm not just gonna keep giving you more money. And so people have this weird, demented sense in their head that, you know what? We all just need to give the government more things. We don't need to tell the government to spend their money in a way that actually makes sense. Yes, they should be building infrastructure. Why? So that we can grow GDP. And if they are spending money in a way that does not help me grow GDP and make life better for people, they can get the fuck out of the way. And right now, they are not doing any of that. They are wildly unaccountable. The politicians are corrupt. They're hiding things from us left, right, and center. All of this is patently absurd. They don't understand economics themselves. It is absolutely bananas. And I mean at the level of legislators. I don't mean that necessarily the Treasury Department, though probably sometimes them too. And given all of that, like, why do people keep clamoring for just tax? Like, God damn. If people were like cheering for Doge, everybody all across both sides of the aisle, yes, like, let's find it. Oh, there wasn't as much there, man. Okay, but still, this is a worthwhile effort. Let's make sure that we get something put in place. Let's make sure that the government is actually being efficient with money. Let's make sure that we're not like hiding it, leaking it, doing like all this incredibly dumb shit. Let's remember, they weren't even asking people to put into the field what the money was for. And so people were spending billions of dollars and nobody even knew what it was for. This is so offensive. Like, these are your dollars that are going to nothing in particular. And so it's like, you can't afford housing. You know why? Because the government spends $2 trillion more a year than it makes. And it's like, sure, you can tax people more. Guess what the government will keep doing? They'll just go, oh, great, then I can spend this much more. This is crazy. If we pass legislation that says what Warren Buffett has put forward, and I think this is brilliant in its simplicity and its acknowledgement of how the economy actually works. No one can be reelected if the debt, the deficit that we're spending at is more than 3% of GDP. Because if it is, that means that your debt is growing faster than your economy. You can't have that. That is quite literally a death spiral. So listen, I'll take all these appeals for more taxes the second we're pulling all four levers of a beautiful deleveraging and not just one.
That reminded me of the Ronald Reagan clip. I just found out it got community noted in like the 10 minutes that it took for us to get live and get to this point, but it's still a funny story.
I recently asked my friend's little girl what she wanted to be when she grows up. She said she wanted to be the President of the United States. Both of her parents, liberal Democrats, were standing there. So I asked her, if you were president, what would be the first thing you would do? Well, she replied, I'd give food and houses to all the homeless people. Her parents beamed. Wow, what a worthy goal, I told her. But you don't have to wait until you're president to do that. You see, you can come over to my house right now and you can mow the lawn, pull weeds, and sweep my driveway, and I'll pay you $50. Then I'll take you over to the grocery store where that homeless guy hangs out, and you can give him the $50 to use toward food and a new house. She thought that over for a few seconds, then she looked me straight in the eye and asked, why doesn't the homeless guy come over and do the work and you can just pay him the $50? I said, welcome to the Republican Party.
It's
like
a
great story.
It's trolling, but like, that is your point, is that instead of increasing the taxes and getting more of our money to this bucket of with a hole in it, with 17 holes in it that just goes into who knows where and who knows what, and it's never balanced, and the Pentagon never passed an audit and all these things, we should try to just allow that direct to the source connection to happen more often. We keep more of the money. If you want to help people, then start an NGO or start a nonprofit and do all those other things.
I think the moral of his story is a little bit different. He is trying to troll her, and it's a very funny story. And Lord knows I wish that I could talk like he talks, which he was, oh God, the ability to make it so accessible to people is really wonderful. But alas, what the real answer is, and Brutus, I will in this answer address his thing. So Brutus was saying, hold on a second. Tom was just saying that we do need to tax the rich, and now he's saying this. What I'm saying is you have to pull all four levers. And when you just tax the rich and you don't do austerity, you are guaranteed to make your problem worse, not better. So we have to not say, hey, everybody, go force that bum to get a job, because the reality is that that person in today's world is probably mentally ill. They're probably on drugs. What I'm saying is there's some amount where you have to understand that compassion becomes pathological. If you don't believe that compassion can become pathological, you get what we're seeing now, which is fentanyl overdoses everywhere because nobody wants to say doing drugs on the street makes you a dirtbag. Stop being a dirtbag. We're going to force you to stop being a dirtbag by arresting you, putting you in jail, forcing you to go through withdrawal, all of that, whatever the plan is going to be. I'm not saying that the words that I just uttered are the magical plan. I'm just saying you have to have a plan. It is going to involve force because people are not going to stop. Many people will not stop doing drugs voluntarily. You have to make it increasingly uncomfortable so that there's not just like an easy way where I can go down on a nice street and put up a tent and I can do my drugs. Nope, fuck that. If you do that, you're either going to be literally with a spray hose pushed back onto Skid Row. And so now at least the rest of us can be like, as long as you ignore, those 3 blocks, like you're fine, or you're going to go to jail. And that is horrible. It sounds horrible and it is horrible. But the reality is that humans do horrible things. And so you have to confine them. Jails are terrible. And yet we live in a deterministic universe. It doesn't even matter whether people can stop themselves from doing it or not. You need to address it. So I'm just saying, Ray Dalio has made it very clear what you have to do to get out from under the debt. People are not willing to do it. And I'm not just going to listen to people beat the drum saying tax, 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 when they're not looking at the truth of $36 trillion in debt. And taxing and still continuing to accumulate debt in excess of 3% of GDP is immoral. You are abusing your people. You are abusing your privileges as a government, and you will lose them because you will go bankrupt. And once people no longer have faith in the debt that the government issues, your government collapses. And the bad news is it collapses violently. And people end up fighting against each other. We take our eye off the Chinese ball entirely. And this is how you go from America #1 to we're like Argentina, and we spend 100 years like as some backwater thing in North America that everybody looks at and goes, man, they used to be the best. And people go, what? No way. America's never better than China. You're out of your mind. People are like, no, for real. Like they really were. And people are just like, I don't buy it. So, yeah, guys, we're not being careful. We're not being careful. We're not being thoughtful. We're not following cause and effect.
I feel like that was a more muted approach to your we need to go back to 1776, not the slavery and stuff part, but the 30% make it. Some people don't. Some people just fall. And
yeah, because I don't want to go all the way back there. I don't want zero safety net. Like I'm not that guy. I love that we've built a country and it's like, oh, we've got this infrastructure and we've got things that can look after people, but we have to balance the budget. And to balance the budget, we can't say, no, we have to keep being more compassionate, more compassionate. Nobody should be left behind. Everybody, if somebody's not being taken care of, Drew, we've got to keep taxing and more. And it's like, Jesus, that is very frustrating to me because it is totally detached from reality. And especially because you have this poisonous envy in the mix of this isn't about helping the poor, it's about hurting the rich. It's like all of that stuff is humans are very complicated and they're very dangerous. And they're very beautiful and wonderful. And oh my God, I love humans. But it's like, bro, we have to be honest with ourselves about where we go awry. And where we go awry when we're like, nobody can be left behind. Nobody can suffer the consequences of their own bad choices. It's like, unfortunately, people have to suffer the consequences of their bad choices. That's part of what keeps them in check. That's part of what makes society work, is we all go, what the hell are you doing? Like, that's completely unacceptable. Up to and including, we got to put them in jail. It's just...
Esoteric dichotomy said some people are barnacles. It's
some people are barnacles, but even more terrifyingly is we will vote for policies that turn people into barnacles. Because listen, we respond to incentives. And if the incentive is to get as much as you can for free, and that works, people will get as much as they can for free. Like, I am sad, even in video games, people will do what's called cheesing. And so if you've got a creature that rushes you and there's a way to like jump up on this ledge and now the creature can't hit you because of bad programming, and so everybody jumps up and they kill the creature that way. People will find the bugs and they'll exploit them. Like that's humans. Yeah. So we have to be honest that that's how people respond. And that just like at the international level where people are going to, there are only two things that restrain a nation. Cultural pressures, so they will restrain themselves, but the cultural pressure has to exist, and the violent opposition of another nation. That's it. God has decided he does not intervene in international politics. So
we're left story
on our
Tom, what do you think the effects of allowing billions and trillions to be loaned to the top 1% based on assets that don't even exist and are unrealized?
Yeah, love it.
Ipso facto.
Yeah, I mean, what they should be disgusted by and what I'm disgusted by isn't that's how that's set up. It's that money printing makes it such that once you start getting pushed down, unless you understand assets, you'll never be able to climb out of that hole, ever. And unfortunately, poverty becomes a problem of ideas, not money, because right now, if I could snap my fingers and make let's make it really bad. If I could snap my fingers and make a 55-year-old guy in the depths of poverty, who the language centers of his brain are underdeveloped, he doesn't understand how the world works, he's trapped in a violent neighborhood, he was wildly uneducated. If I could snap my fingers and give him a higher intellect and a set of ideas that would allow him to understand how the world works, he would be out of poverty in 90 days. I'm not kidding. Because you would just go, how does the financial system work? Okay, you have to identify assets that are going to go up in value. Cool, I see the hole in the market. I'm going to bet on it and win. And the only reason that he's not able to do that is that's very, very hard because the smartest people in the world don't get it. But this is why everybody fears AI fast takeoff, because the second you have something intelligent enough to do that, they will take over the whole world, because they'll corner every exploit in the financial market, and I mean, it'd be a complete disaster. But I just want people to understand, like, this, it's not a money problem. It is that poverty locks you in an intelligence problem, in your software is defunct problem. And when poverty was the place that people ended up in through bad choices, cool. When poverty becomes the place that you end up in and get trapped in forever, because it is, they just do not understand. They are in a rigged system, that the system is rigged in a knowable way, a way that you can play defense against, that you can say, this is how it's being used against me. This is I get it now. This is how I have to play defense. Go play that defense. You will get out of poverty. But you have to understand the ideas well enough to articulate them then to your kids. And the reason that wealthy kids do better isn't a genetic thing. If you take the poorest group you can think of and say, I'm just going to pull that kid out, just one of the kids, identical twin, just to really make it nasty. And I'm going to raise that kid in a household where they share ideas about how the financial system works, how to get ahead, how to study, how to get good at a job that people will pay you money for. That kid's going to win. It literally doesn't matter, man. Now, if the kid is just too dumb, they're never going to win no matter what. And this is equally true. But they'll be taken care of by the family because the family's got money. And so that kid is going to die fine. Like, they'll have health care. They will have somebody that makes sure that they've got food and all of that. But the only thing protecting them are the people smart enough to make the money. So I just want to be clear. Like, this problem is very straightforward, but it's gross. And because it's gross and just confusing enough that most people don't understand the truth of what's happening, it just fucking perpetuates. And it cycles and cycles and cycles. And then we scream about the wrong thing. We start screaming about race or immigration status. Immigration is about values far more than it's about money.
Yeah.
I'll stop there. Otherwise, I'll just
not your day.
fractal.
Not your day. I think summarizes this very well. There are two people in this world. One, people who act how the world is. Two, people who are mad it should be some way.
Yes. You are correct.
Yeah. I feel like that's that.
I want to hear from the people that hate every word out of my mouth.
All right.
Who got to be out there. And Mason, unfortunately, is not here. We love Mason. Wish he could be part of the travel team. In fact, guys, help us build out the travel team. We've got to get more viewers. Tell your friends. Tell somebody. If you're not already subscribed, subscribe. Cut clips. Share this. Hashtag steal this content. Do your thing. Put it out there. As long as you're not cutting me in a way that fakes what I'm saying, cut out clips of stuff that you hate. But we've got to get the word out on what we're doing. I understand. I've completely changed my channel. So the 4.5 million, that is an illusion. The vast majority of those people were only interested in the early mindset stuff. So you got to help me build this audience. Let's go get the word out there. Then Mason can travel with us, because we actually are fiscally responsible. Shout out to Drew. Shout out to Drew, who is very good with our money, and he will make sure, hey, we got to do this, that, or the other to actually make this pay. Man, listen, I hope that I give you enough flowers, both publicly and privately. Drew is amazing. Drew is amazing. He's amazing.
Tom's amazing. Okay, people have real beef.
He's unfortunately paid to say that. I'm not paid to say the nice things about Drew. So you can trust that I really mean
it. People have beef with the 90 days out of poverty thing. I don't want to speak for you because I have called you what you say cheeky a couple times. Like, no, that's exactly what I meant. So break that down. Give me another level.
Break which down?
You said if I pluck somebody out of poverty, told them how the financial systems work, in 90 days they'll be in a different situation.
No. I said I have to give them the intellect to be able to do it.
That's
what I'm saying. This is a magic genie question.
Got
I have
it.
to snap my fingers and make them smart enough. Unfortunately, look, teaching them how the system works. If they didn't have any emotional hesitancy, over the next 20 years, they would get out of poverty, but it would take a very long time because they would invest cautiously like most people should. They would let it compound. They would be very thoughtful with their money. But this is a knowledge and data processing game. Like you have to have the ability to overcome your own emotions. You have to be disciplined, et cetera, et cetera.
Roberto Blake said, "Poverty is not about money. It is literally about intelligence and bad choices." So I think you were going that way with it.
Correct.
Like it's your ideas that create the poverty.
And your intelligence. I wish that wasn't true, but it is true.
Okay.
And so, unfortunately, I know a very wealthy family that has a child that's very deep on the spectrum. They're verbal and all that, so I don't want you to have the wrong idea. But they're far enough on the spectrum that they can't hold a high-paying job. Let's say that. But that kid's always going to have a nice apartment. He can live on his own, but he lives on his own because his parents look after him. So, and they're not young. Yeah. So, and if I were going to be in his position, I would much rather be born of wealthy parents. So, but that is a case of his intellect in the, if he were like low class, in poverty, he's stuck forever. He's stuck forever. There's no way for him to get out. He just doesn't have the horsepower.
Another dating fractal. I don't have my button, guys. We're traveling. My friend was talking to a girl. This wasn't mine, and she was getting on him because he had like a studio apartment. He was driving like a Camry or something like that, and she was giving him a hard time because the dude that she thinks she deserves has to be in a certain income level, drive a certain car, be in a certain type of housing situation. The entire time she was living with her mom rent free.
Yeah. Are we mad at that though?
I'm not mad that she was living with her mom rent free, but I feel like that's okay. Let me put it this way, because I feel like living with mom rent free implies that maybe she's being fiscally responsible and saving her money and investing.
No, it implies. God, I hope my wife is still here.
Help us out, Lisa.
Here is what it implies.
Okay.
PSA to all the young people or all the people that have allowed social media to turn their view of the world into a checklist. Mm-hmm. Ladies, your job is to partner with, and listen, I'm all for gay people. I'm just going to pitch a fastball down the middle. Ladies, your job is to partner with a man to help him become better, to understand that you have insights into the world that he does not have, that you have evolutionarily placed algorithms in your brain that make you find people that have access to resources very meaningful. You're into height because it is a signal of strength and dominance. And so you're gravitating towards those things. You need to earn that. Don't just try to find a guy off the rack at Nordstrom's that's all those things.
Off the rack is crazy.
Job is to help him become that. Men, your job is to be willing to die for that person, to stand up for them. I saw this video. Drew, if you can find this, man catches girl on bike before she hits metal pole. Or pole, don't put metal. Mm-hmm. And I was like, that guy is everything I want to be. Because who knows how badly he gets hurt, but he gets hurt a little bit. And I was like, yes. As a man, that is your job. First of all, it's a child. Second, she's about to plow into a pole. So do I expect that guy to put himself in harm's way to catch her? Yes. And I love that. I love that we need to celebrate. I have the chills. We need to celebrate that guy, that he was willing to, however minorly, because clearly this guy was not thinking about that. All he thought was, that little girl's in danger, and I'm going to use my body as a way to protect her. And man, we have somehow lost that shit. So guys, you need to be ambitious. Now, remember, I am married to a woman who works. She's an entrepreneur. She is not a stay-at-home wife. So I'm not saying trap women in some outdated role. What I am saying is you have these evolutionary algorithms running in your brain that are making you search for certain things, but everybody feels like they are owed it. Let's go back to Saban. Not owed shit. You have to make a contribution. Guys, you owe a major contribution to your partner. Ladies, you owe a major contribution to your partner. We need to have a whole lot of awareness about this dynamic. It needs to be a partnership. It does not need to be this weird fucking antagonistic thing where it's like, I've got a checklist, and if you don't meet the checklist, get out. It's like, I want someone that's going to help make me a better person. I want someone, oh God, there was another video.
I got this one pulled up while you think about that.
Play that one, because this one like makes me like bizarrely emotional. All right, you got to look at your screen. Oh my God, I want to play
so
that
close.
all day. Dude, that changes that little girl's life forever if she hits that pole. Forever. She's going, 20, 25 miles an hour, and he literally just snatches
that's
her
not sped up.
off the bike.
That's
and then
super
watch
fast.
his shin. Like he clearly, like the bike pedal or whatever, it clips him. Oh!
And he lips off. He lips off.
Let's go. That's what I'm talking about. And listen, I'm not saying that's the totality of the male experience or anything, but I'm saying men and women are designed by evolution to be very different. We have more in common than we have different, but we are designed by evolution to be different. And when we come together in a beautiful way like that, and we remember the values that we ought to be holding, then the dating market gets a lot less confusing. All right.
There's a couple things. Okay, you got on a monologue, and I love when you start monologuing, so I'll let you rock. But people are coming at your take. Okay, I have two that I want to like parse out. First, from Jaren, by the way, friend of the chat, always good to see you. Money is literally the cause and the solution. Literally, cause, solution, all caps, to poverty. Money is literally the cause and the solution to poverty. We don't have our monitor today, guys. I got to act it out.
That was good, though, by the way. Okay, he is both 100% correct and wrong. So, if it was a money thing, then the war on poverty would have already worked.
If it was a money thing, the war on poverty would have already worked. And you're talking about like California, we paid $80 billion on homeless, and our homeless went up type thing.
Yeah.
Copy. Say more, though.
Okay.
Because I get the ipso facto of it all, but
yeah,
sometimes I feel like I get it, but I don't know if the chat is getting it. Cause
the only way for poverty to be ended with money is if you can give them money forever. If you can give them money forever, then poverty solves. So the kid that I was talking about who's on the spectrum, he's not going to die poor. But if you just gave him money, he would die poor. Meaning, if you gave him like one-time amount of money, because he doesn't know how to deal with it. He doesn't know how to avoid inflation. So, for instance, over COVID, let's say that as parents, you left him $250,000. Now, any normal person should be able to like, okay, I'll make sure I get a job and I'm doing well, and that's for emergencies, or that's going to be how I get a house, and then the house is going to be the thing that protects me and all that, because they can think through that problem. So that one-time injection of $250K, that's everything. That person literally, if they're even just a little bit cautious, they're never going to have to worry about money. You could give this kid $250,000 and he will die broke. And the reason he will die broke is he does not have the intellectual horsepower to think through the problems. And so his friends will invite him to go to Vegas. He'll go to Vegas and they'll be like, come on, man. Your parents gave you all that money. Put $5,000 on like one hand. This will be hilarious. And then he does and he loses it. And they're like, oh, come on, man. Double or nothing. Do $10,000 this time, but do it on red this time. And he'll do it. And he'll lose the money. And then maybe he gets scared at that point. He backs off. It's not like he's going to lose all $250,000 right there. But he'll fall prey to things like that. And so over time, same thing. Oh man, this crypto, you can't lose. Like you can't lose. Like Hawk to a girl, like she's hot, bro. This is going to the moon. Like buy it, and he drops $50,000 on it, and it's gone. And so money's gone. I mean, you see this, the
Lottery,
number of times you
yeah.
see this with lottery winners,
Yeah.
it's all gone. Because giving them the money without the understanding of how the system works, without a value system that keeps them in check, blah, 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 like it doesn't work. So...
Well, okay, there is some skeptics of capitalism that say capitalism can't function if there aren't poor people.
Why? Why would that be true?
I'm trying to see if maybe you understood it.
Well, they have a default perspective that capital takes advantage of labor, that they are manipulating them, and what they fail to understand is creating a machine that outputs something more valuable than the inputs is akin to turning lead into gold. And it is so hard to do that, and I'm going to give, these are real stats. 90% of all companies fail to make $1 million. 94%, it's either 96 or 94%, let's go 94, fail to make it to $10 million in revenue. Nobody can do it. I once run the math on my success, and it was like 0.00001% of all companies.
Sheesh.
So it's just, it effectively never happens.
Reptoid came back and said the war on poverty is rigged by means testing that traps people.
Nope.
They are not allowed to earn enough to get out. 2K limit on assets for most government programs. How can you escape with those limits?
Very simple. You go, oh, okay, I see. They shut one of the doors. One of the exits are gone. Really just think about it. If you strip me of all my money and you said, okay, Tom, you have $0.00, you don't own a home, blah, 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 and we're dropping you off in the worst neighborhood in America, would I still have no home in 6 months?
Would I still have no?
Not buying a home, because assume that I am not able to buy a house yet. But am I still in poverty in 6 months?
What's your definition of poverty? Maybe that's where people.
There's a poverty line. Am I below the poverty line? Am I making less than $100,000? Am I making less than $200,000? 6 months later, do you think I will be making less than $200,000? 6 months later.
I don't know. I feel like that's a hard.
You're
that's
high.
That's hard.
Do you know how much I've been paid?
You said
for,
guaranteed, yes. Like,
do you
not
know
even a
how
question
much
about it.
I've been paid for 20 minutes of my time? 20 minutes.
How much?
$100,000. Do you really think, really put your thinking cap on, 6 months later, will I be making less than $200,000 a year?
Based on that math, no. Obviously
not.
Yeah.
Why? Because I can make people money. And if you can make people money, you will always make money. So I'm just saying this is, they don't have the ideas in their head. They're not valuable to people. And so we are trapping people in this death loop of either, here's a winner for you. I once had somebody come up to me and say they were smarter than me, meaning they could process raw data faster than I could. They could identify patterns faster than I could. And when I said, why are you doing nothing with your life? This is back at Quest. They said, because my mom told me that the world doesn't want people who look like me to succeed. So what he took that as, I'm not going to try because I'm never going to succeed. So he didn't try and didn't succeed. And I was like, oh my God. Now remember, some of the people in that same thing, dead end, going nowhere, drug dealers, gangbangers, all of that. I don't know if this is the only person out of that to make themselves a millionaire, but there's one guy that I've stayed in contact with who's made himself a millionaire. Off of what? What now? Did I give him money? No, I did not. I gave him ideas. He is now a millionaire. Okay? Like liquid cash in the bank. Not his company is valued at $1 million. Liquid cash in the bank.
Nice.
Millionaire. Okay? Off of a set of ideas. To the point where this guy will text me routinely being like, hey, just your like quarterly reminder, you gave me a set of ideas and I turned that into money. And I was like, just a kid from the fucking hood. Yeah.
People are saying if only 0.0001% can really win, is that a great system?
Where are we calling really win? I'm saying that's the number of
people want to be like
who
you,
build a company that they sell for $1 billion. Okay, so that is a very, very small percentage of humanity. And I'm telling you right now, if you said, Tom, you can either lose your wife or all your money, which would you do? I would lose my money because my wife has given me far more than money will ever be able to give me. And so winning isn't just the capital. But you want to make enough that you can do the things you want to do and that you control your life and that you're not panicking and all of that. Money is awesome. It's more awesome than people think. It just isn't what people think. It is the great facilitator. It won't change how you feel about yourself. It's not some magic thing that once you have it, you never have to worry about losing it. You do. But boy, oh boy, it is... Selling a company for $1 billion is not the definition, quote unquote, of success. So if you're a number 15 at a company, but you're making $140,000 in a city where the average income is $120,000, you're doing great.
So I guess there's a couple things to tease out here. You personally have to define what success means to you. So just because Tom sold his company for 0.0001% of, like, that's a different threshold, and some people have different standards. So you saying if that's the percentage of people to win, I don't think Tom is saying that's the only way to win, that your life isn't the only definition of winning in this system.
Nope.
It should be individual to the people that, you and your lifestyle and what you want and heuristics and all these other things. I think the takeaway from this should be, one, if I am struggling with making money, I need to, one, get better ideas, two, figure out how can I make other people make a lot of money so that way I can get some of that money. Or three, figure out if you're intelligent deficit or knowledge deficit, and then kind of fill in those gaps wherever you can.
Yeah.
Use AI, Google it.
What skills do you have?
Yeah.
Pitch to your strengths. Make sure that you have your head around what I call the only belief that matters. If I put time and energy into getting better, I will get better. Mm-hmm. And so, okay, what do you want to get better at? What is the thing that's going to be valuable to you? What's your goal? What do you need to do to get there? And go do that thing.
Yeah. Cool. All right, we want to jump into this Glenn Greenwald. I seen the super chats. I'm coming back around to you guys at the bottom of the hour. I really want to talk about it because he says this is a necessary lesson that America's addicted to. Like, we love dictators. This is counterfactual.
I think one of the worst problems in Western discourse, and it probably is a problem in discourse of every kind, including non-Western ones, is that we love to imply or suggest that we follow certain rules that we're going to impose on other countries, when in fact we constantly violate those rules all the time. It's one of the reasons why there's so much resentment against American hegemony in the world. They're seeking alternatives in BRICS. So just to give you an example, I heard from Emily, this is a war about confronting brutal dictators, and brutal dictators are the ones who often start wars. The United States' closest allies in the Middle East, and increasingly Israel's as well, are all brutal dictatorships. Saudi Arabia, Qatar, the Emiratis, the Egyptians, the Jordans, the Bahrainis, etc. We love to embrace and prop up dictatorships. We're not against dictatorships. We love dictators as long as they serve our interests. The second thing is this idea that we're going to just sanction Russia. We've been sanctioning Cuba, a tiny little island in the middle of the Caribbean, for 65 years to try and change their government. It hasn't worked. Venezuela, it hasn't worked. Iran, it hasn't worked. And the idea that we're going to choke Russia as a way for them to finally leave this war, I think is preposterous. The third issue, I think that is really worth noting is when, Piers, you just talked about Crimea, Georgia, etc. When the United States went into what was then Yugoslavia and broke up, the United States broke Kosovo off from Serbia on the grounds that the people of Kosovo didn't want to be part of Serbia. And at the time, the Russians and a lot of other people in the world, including Putin, were saying, this is a really bad precedent. Europe is pieced together by all these little provinces, and a lot of people in those provinces don't have loyalty to the central government. The people of Crimea, and you can dispute the referendum all you want, anyone who knows Crimea understands that overwhelmingly they identify as Russian and not Ukrainian. Same with people in the eastern provinces in Ukraine. Same with those two breakaway provinces in Georgia. So we're the one who goes around the world demanding sovereignty for various provinces and breaking them off on countries on the grounds that they don't want to be part of those central governments anymore, and then turn around and act like when Putin invokes the same precedent, somehow that is an act of evil, even though it's the same mentality. And the last thing I want to say is, I've been hearing from Ukrainians for 4 years now, just give us more, we're going to expel the problem with this war is that Russia is a gigantic country and Ukraine is a relatively small country. The Russians can keep sending people to fight into the front lines, whereas the Ukrainians are running out of people. They're expanding the age of the people who go. They're people with sicknesses and disabilities. They're not very well trained. They get dragged off the street. They don't want to go. They're fleeing. They're deserting because they know they're being used as cannon fodder. Russia, Europe, and the United States have been drowning Ukraine in billions and billions and billions of dollars of weapons into the 4th year now. And Russia continues to expand how much of Ukraine it controls. It has 23%, and the front line continues to move not toward the east back to Russia, but toward the west as they take more and more cities, more and more strategic territory. And huge numbers of people are dying. This is what President Trump was saying. The idea that if we just pour some more weapons, at some point the Ukrainians are going to be able to vanquish Russia is a complete pipe dream, no matter how much people wish that were true. And at the same time, we're going more into debt, the United States is, and depleting our own stockpiles, feeding Israel, feeding Ukraine, all these foreign countries in their wars. And the United States can't really afford to do that any longer. That was the promise of the Trump movement, was we're going to focus on our own people instead.
Preach. What's your reaction?
Well, so he said a lot of different things. Going back to the dictator part, I think that he's absolutely right. There are no, what do they say? There's no permanent allies, only permanent interests. Realpolitik just makes all of this so abundantly clear. And if you want to see my take on that, I did a whole deep dive on Realpolitik. Please check it out if you haven't. And yes, so we're perfectly fine with a dictator. They can be as brutal as they want as long as they're giving us what we want. So if that's oil or whatever, hey, if they're giving us that thing, like, kill as many people as you want.
Yeah.
We were totally fine with China putting people in concentration camps as long as we were getting our cheap flat TVs. Now, though, that they're a true peer, it's like all of a sudden we've got beef. So yeah, just be honest about the way that nation states look at the world, be honest about how politicians are, and just the way that it goes, and be honest about how each of us are in terms of, hey, things are fine in my life, things are cheap, I'm happy. So yeah, we all got to be real careful. In terms of what's now going to happen with Ukraine, that's a whole different bag. So we as the American people have to decide, what lens are we going to look at this through? Are we going to look at it through the lens of realpolitik and say we instigated this with Putin, and it was our constant insistence that we were going to bring former USSR states into Western influence and European influence, and bring them into NATO, which Putin said over and over and over, that's a red line for me. Now, you can say that it shouldn't have been a red line. He should have been totally fine with it. But just like America had a real problem with the USSR bringing nuclear weapons to Cuba, I hope people can understand why Putin would not want NATO right on his doorstep. And so you don't have to go all the way to believing that Putin is a territorial expansionist to understand why he would make a move on the areas that he's made a move on. So now it's like, well, okay, what line are we going to draw? So we've had a world order now for a while where we've said one sovereign nation can't invade another, and we're all going to sort of collectively say that's absolutely unacceptable. And so we put all these sanctions on Russia. That clearly didn't stop them. They're clearly continuing to push forward. They're trying to de-dollarize to make sure that they're, not beholden to our system anymore. BRICS is on the rise. China's thinking, hey, this is a pretty good idea. Let's get out of our debt. Let's get off the SWIFT system. Let's make sure that we also can be independent. We'll see how much that plays out. China didn't go to the most recent BRICS meeting, so I never know, what's real, what's spin on that kind of thing. But certainly we have given people the reason to want to back away from American dollar hegemony, certainly American military being the global hegemon. So it will be interesting to see how the electorate now starts voting around Trump funding Ukraine. So we've got a choice. This is what we were talking about at the beginning of the show. We've got a choice. Do we draw the line and say, you've already crossed it and we're just going to fund? I don't think Trump is doing it for that reason. I think Trump is doing it because he's not being listened to. And when he's not being listened to in a negotiation, he is willing to go to violence. I'm not necessarily even sure that's a bad idea if we have a goal of US being the US hegemon. Now, I'm way more worried about China. So for very practical reasons, I don't like the idea of getting bogged down financially or militarily with what's going on in Russia. I think it's probably wiser, though I haven't spent a ton of time thinking about this, but I think it's probably wiser to say, we wish Ukraine the best. We think it's grotesque what Russia's done. We're going to keep the economic sanctions on, but we've got bigger fish to fry, and that, just to be very blatant, is we've got to get manufacturing of certain critical industries back in the U.S. We have to be ready for a Cold War with China. We cannot be in a weakened position. We've got to get our military on point. And so this is the new red line. If Russia does this, then they can expect a military response from us and all of Europe, and just lay it out like that.
Yeah. It's interesting. What stood out to me was the fact that America is the one that's kind of dictating how we draw these lines. And I go back to, American as the cop of the world and us saying, okay, this is how things ought to be versus how things are. We're the ones saying, okay, you guys aren't allowed to do this. Me, secretly, we're overthrowing governments and we're kind of doing that. So, I mean, taking that hypocrisy aside, even the narrative now of Ukraine is a sovereign nation and Russia invaded Ukraine, based off of what Glenn was just saying, there were certain provinces and certain cities that when it was the USSR and it was all one big blob, might have fell under Russian territory, might traditionally be Russian, might call themselves Russian, might speak Russian. But then now with our re-drawing of the map, they fell on the Ukraine side. So by no means am I saying Putin has no bearings. When Trump called him out, he immediately did the most aggressive UK drone strikes he did since the war started. So by no means is he a saint, and I'm not team Putin. But there is something to, do we really know why they are even fighting to begin with? And I don't think it's as cut and dry as this Ukrainian citizenship was all one unified body, and this guy just came out of nowhere and is messing with that. There are those certain nuances that I think don't get talked about because of what the lines look like now versus what they look like historically if we would have went back a couple of years.
I think that's a really dangerous way to look at this. You've
Really?
got you've got Ukraine has borders, is a democratically elected, has a democratically elected president. So if people are like, I don't want to be here, then they should go to Russia. Otherwise, it's like you voted theoretically. Theoretically, you voted for a pro-Russian person. You lost. And I know people claim that there was a lot of American influence in that. It seems a little unclear from the headline reading that I've done whether America actually pushed it or if America just cheered for the thing that they were happy to see happen. But if people feel that their country doesn't represent them anymore, then leave. Now, if Ukraine tries to forcibly stop them from leaving, you're the bad guy. If you're stopping people from leaving your country, you're the bad guy. So people are going to have to vote with their feet at that point because they lost.
Yeah. And I guess to your point, then, that will set a precedent that the sovereign line now can be argued. Like if I was
imagine
a lawyer,
Canada was like, Trump won, we're invading because we know that the left in Washington, Oregon, and California they're much more aligned with Canadian values. It's like, what? Now you have plenty of people clapping off, popping off, saying that they wanted to go to Canada, but god damn, if Canada invaded, some mushroom clouds come to Canada's way, bro. All right, that was a joke. But
then honestly, on the flip side, you can say that about Mexico, like the whole stolen land argument and stuff like that. Once you start debating what time frame lines are drawing, it can be a slippery slope. So I see that point, and I take it back
really
there.
fast. We've got people saying, Esoteric Dichotomy asks, why do you frame it as we instigated when Ukraine itself wanted to liberalize and be more Western and separate from Russian influence? So here's the thing. The reason I say that was a provocation is if we had just said, hey, we support Ukraine, love them, wish them well, awesome, everything would have been fine. We can't wait to do a trade deal. Yay, Ukraine, welcome to Western democracy. But we didn't. We said we're going to bring them into NATO. And that's where he was like, nope, hard pass. If I'm understanding NATO correctly, and I believe that I am, all NATO countries have an agreement that if they are attacked by Russia, that everybody then gets involved militarily. And so Russia was saying, no, I'm not going to have that. If for no other reason than I want to leave my options open. Maybe one day I'm going to take them back. Maybe we're going to try to bring them back diplomatically, whatever. But I don't want them becoming part of that Western influence. So basically, if you're going to do it through influence, fine, because you're not giving me a red line to go, see, I told you not to do it and you did it. So do trade deals, build diplomatic relations. But if he tells you this is a red line, and by the way, you promised him back in, I think it was the Clinton era, that we're not going to move NATO towards Russia, and then you do it anyway, then he's going to react the way he's going to react. Remember, when I describe the way the world is, I'm not saying that it's the way that I think it ought to be. I don't think Putin should have invaded a sovereign nation. I think The USSR fell. It fell for a reason. And if those countries want to become the most Western democracies ever, look at Poland. God bless Poland, man. Like, might have to do a deep dive on Poland and their embrace of capitalism. And now they're just absolutely crushing it. So, yeah, I think Putin should stay the hell in Russia. I think that we should be able to make any country we want a member of NATO, but that's not geopolitics. And when the guy tells you, I've got a lot of guns, and if you do this, I'm going to use those lot of guns, and then you do it, and he uses those guns, don't be like, oh my God, what just happened? It's like,
where did those guns come from?
Yeah, he told you what he was going to do. Again, that's not a justification of it. I think Ukraine should be able to do whatever they want. I think they should be able to sign that alliance, but there are going to be consequences. And if everybody's willing to take those consequences, great. But if America's going to be like, yeah, nah, we're not really here for this, which, by the way, I think the average American is not really here for this.
Nope.
I could be wrong. That's not the place you want to be in. So I just think from a realpolitik, which is merely trying to describe the world as it is, not making moral judgment, it led to the outcome that was predictable. And now people are acting like it wasn't predictable. That's all I'm saying.
Do you think he keeps expanding? Somebody said in the chat, if we let him have Ukraine, do you think in 5 years when he starts to invade Poland, like we would have the same stance?
I think we should, Tom Bilyeu, think that we should react extremely differently if he made a move on Poland. Would I be surprised if he moved on Poland if he saw weakness in the rest of the world? No, I do not. I would not be surprised. But that feels, I'm very much at the headline level on that. I think looking at Putin through the lens of realpolitik makes the most sense. I don't think right now that he would have the internal cultural buy-in to go after Poland, but I could be totally delusional on that. I am not a Russian expert at all. Really fast, just because I had pinged Frank about this. So Frank said that I've spiraled, he didn't say into madness, but basically that was the idea. So I said, be more specific. He said, China and the USSR never stopped backing the Viet Cong they won. Is that the direct response to what I was asking? Because if it is, then I don't know how to make sense of that. So anyway, okay, sure. I'm not.
When countries are intertwined and codependent, they are less likely to fight each other. The more we unlock our economies, the more likely we go to war with China. China and the USSR never stopped backing the Viet Cong they won. So I guess the three of those together. Like we're starting this trade war with China. We're going to start getting less and less deals, and then once our economies are not intertwined, then we'll probably actually end up fighting, as opposed now to.
Well, so history tells you that there's something called Thucydides' trap. The reason that we're pulling our economies apart is because something started happening a while ago, which is that China got uppity. Just to like really put a fine point on it. Like America was perfectly happy letting them be a part of the WTO when we could control them. And then the second their economy broke free, it was like, uh-oh. And then COVID made it very apparent that they became the world's manufacturer of a whole bunch of things and didn't westernize, which is what we thought would happen. We thought that they would become a democracy, and they did not. They became a really fascinating version of, can't really call it communism anymore, but authoritarian rule with communistic willingness to kill.
Yes. Okay. We had a chat that fell off last stream. We got to get to it. Then I'm going to hit y'all super chats. I see them waiting over there. It was from John Pike. He said, good morning, Tom. You often say that the U.S. can never pay back its debt because principal plus interest is more than the money in circulation.
Yep.
However, doesn't this rely on the assumption that the owner of the debt never puts that money back into circulation?
How would that money go back into circulation?
But if the American people own the debt and those people send that money, doesn't that change the physics of the debt?
No. So if every dollar in existence was born of debt, then when that debt is paid off, that money is poof, it's gone. Mm-hmm. Because the only people that were the originators of the money, so when they're paid back, it's like it quote unquote still exists, is the central bank. Mm-hmm. It's not like it came from an individual. That's what he's missing. So when you pay back the debt to the bank, then that money's gone again. The only way to get it back into circulation is to do what?
Loan it and get interest.
Correct.
Got it.
So you're always going to be in the position. It is the nature of modern monetary theory.
So when you say you own government debt, you own it directly from the Treasury, but that connection is already established from the federal bank, so it's one step down.
You're very close. So what's happening, or maybe this is what you're saying, but let me say it in a different way to make sure that you're saying it correctly. So the banks loaned an individual money.
Central banks,
but the way that the central bank works is it's actually a whole bunch of other banks.
Got it.
They're just dancing to the central bank's tune.
Got you.
Some banks are part of the central banking system, some are not, just to really make it nice and complex.
Copy.
I tend not to talk about that because it gets confusing. So the banks, part of the Fed system, they loan money into existence. Okay. That could go to a corporation, could go to the government, could go to an individual. Let's take the individual.
Yeah.
Okay, so the individual now has money, but they owe that money. And they owe more than exists, but they owe more than they have for sure. Okay, so now let's say that they, a government bond comes for sale. I'm going to go buy that government bond. Okay, that's way better for all of us because money was already created once. When the Fed buys the government bond, more money has to be created. So now you create money twice, once to give to that guy and he did God knows what with it, and then once again as the Fed buys the debt. If the bank loans him money and he goes, ooh, I'm going to buy me some of that attractive government debt and get my interest payment, then we don't have to create that money. He uses money that was already created, but that money was created. And so there's no money in the system that's like the magic money that wasn't loaned out. Yeah. So if everybody paid back the debt, ultimately it just bounces back, like playing a thing in rewind until all money's back at the central bank.
Gotcha.
And so that money now, again, doesn't exist unless it's loaned back into existence.
And then the process starts all over again.
All
right, we got a super chat from Bull Samtron Squash.
It's certainly a system with trade-offs. Sorry.
Say what you get. I stepped in.
Ricky just said bad system, and I said it's a bad system. It has trade-offs. Yeah. So,
Bull Samtron Squash, thank you for the $30 Canadian dollar super chat. He said, idea for helping end Ukraine war: let Russia participate with their flag in global events. The West has effectively canceled the Russian flag, and this might be a way to convince Russian people we are not the enemy Putin is.
It's okay. I need to confess how this always works. The second you start reading one of those, I start reading chat. So that's why I always need to be able to see it so I can check chat for a second and then come back to the thing. So when you're reading, you're not reading for me. You're always reading for chat. Then I need to be able to read it for myself.
Copy.
So we have the game has finally been revealed now that there's no monitor for me to read this on.
Yes, we need a better system.
So sorry, read it one more time. This time for me.
Okay. Idea for helping end Ukraine war: let Russia participate with their flag in global events. The West has effectively canceled the Russian flag, and this might be a way to convince Russian people we are not the enemy Putin is. So we embrace Russia as a country, as a society, and we just critique Putin versus saying Russia can't participate in anything.
I don't think it works like that.
Copy.
In the sense that like everyone's very careful to draw a line between Israel and Israelis. Everyone's very, I hope, very careful to separate America from Americans. But at the end of the day, you have to interact with that nation state, and whoever gets caught up, gets caught up. So it's like if you go to war with Netanyahu, you kill Jews. That's the game. If you go to war with Hamas, you kill Palestinians. That's the game. So, yeah, I like the emotional impulse that he has. I just don't think it plays out like that.
Okay. Is there something to us embracing Russian culture to try to create internal dissent with Putin?
I don't know how you do that without starting to play a really weird game. So from the perspective, I mean, you could do things like what the Israelis were doing with the Iranian people there for a minute, which was like, hey, this isn't about you. We love you. We know you're good people. This is about your military and your leadership. And we're trying to keep all of our strikes to just them. Wouldn't it be a shame if something happened to all of them and you guys rose up? Wink, wink. So, I mean, I guess you could do something like that. Like, hey, Russia, we love you. But, like, what are you really going to do in practice? Because as soon as you start doing trade deals, you start empowering Putin with money, and he's going to realpolitik. He's going to spend that money on the war effort. So as much as you want to be like, no, it's the people's money, that isn't how it's going to work.
Got it. We got a $19.99 super
Let's
chat from
go.
Roberto Blake. Thank you, Roberto Blake.
Thank you for that support. Much appreciated. To everybody out
Hey,
there.
you guys are killing
with
it
these
today.
super chats. We appreciate it very
money
much.
can't solve poverty. Money will flow upwards to those who offer or create value. A fool will value the wrong things and will lose their money. Sustaining a fool is a parasitic relationship, intelligence and character. One more time. Money can't solve poverty. Money will flow upwards.
By the way, I heard all of that. So if you're reading the second time,
Oh,
for me,
got it.
thank you. I appreciate
Okay.
that. But I locked in on that one.
Nice.
Yeah, that is all correct, and it sounds horrible, but it's nonetheless true.
Yeah. It's the spicy part was sustaining a fool is a parasitic relationship.
Yes, this is
the
correct.
incentives are in the wrong place.
The incentives are in the wrong place. Yes, and look, we do want to have some kind of social safety net, but we have to understand that it will be taken advantage of to some degree. It will be abused. And so you just have to understand what the trade-offs are. You've got to really want to culturally reinforce values of hard work, discipline, ambition, like let's be a go-getter nation. Recontextualizing us in a international space, I think, is very wise. I hate to say this, but I think us going up against China is going to be a good thing for America. It's going to force America to be like, oh, there are real stakes. And that, I think, is going to wake people up. This is why hard times make strong men. It's like, it's just the way that it goes, man. Yeah. Like once it's like, oh, shoot, there's some real pushback here. Like this is a real thing. People start to get real sober real fast. That's what I always meant when I said some people need to be chased by a lion. It's like when you're chased by a lion, it's like everything else falls away and you realize, oh, I need to go to the gym. I need to be in shape because when this happens, I need to be able to defend myself, to get away, whatever. And it just has a way of making people very, very sober. And
cut through all the BS. It makes you focus
and
on
when you start giving everybody things for free, this is why. So I've talked about this publicly many times, but it's very different to hear me online than it is to work for me, especially when I was in phase 1 and I took a very narrow band of my personality and I was like, okay, I'm just going to talk about mindset stuff. And so then I would get these young guys that would be like, oh my God, you changed my life. You have no idea. Like, I want to work for you. And I would say, hey, it's very different to work for me than it is to hear me online because all the things that I say are actually true. And so I really behave like that. Yeah. So all that like hype and stuff that you get, like when you turn around and you're in the office and you're not giving me everything and I'm like, hey, remember when I'm like, you got to be the hardest core motherfucker around? I'm not playing. You're not being hardcore. Like, and I'm not here for that. And so, but I get what's I call the text. And where people will work inside of impact theory or inside of Quest or whatever. And because I believe my job is to create the soil in which people can thrive, and I believe in autonomy, and I know that I'm always at risk of being wrong, so I always want to hear people's ideas. And I'm like, hey, listen, you can attack me with impunity, just, let's make sure that we're working towards the same aim, blah, blah, blah. And after a while, it will rub people the wrong way that I'm like, I really want to get these things. You're not performing. I'm going to say it bluntly, like, here it is. This is what it is. And some percentage of them will leave, and they leave in distress, and they're not happy. And then they get back out in the real world. And suddenly they're dealing with people that just want to be told that they're right all the time, that are lunatics, that are authoritarian in nature, and blah, blah, blah. And so it's somewhere between, I recently got one that was only 6 months later, that was fast. It's usually like 2 to 3 years later, they'll text and be like, hey, I just want to apologize for the way that I left. Like, I'm out here now on these streets and I realized like, okay, you were definitely hardcore, but like you were fair and you had a set of values that you articulated and you expected me to live up to that. And the irony is I'm discovering that when I just adhere to that set of values, it's super useful in my life. And so even if like sometimes there's a sense of like almost begrudging acceptance of I'm just trying to describe physics. Yeah. I'm just like, we're all being chased by a lion. That's the truth. And once that's gone, people are like, oh, damn, like it's hard out here on these streets.
I speak about this all the time. We had a meeting, confidentially, I'm definitely like spilling the tea, where you sat all the production team down and you were very blunt in your delivery.
That is an understatement.
Yes, very much so. But there was one thing that you said that stood out to me so much. That was like, if you don't want to be here, you can leave. And if you're just here for a paycheck, it's not my fault you're bad with money. And that was although you said those string of words, what I heard was, it's not my responsibility to take care of you. It's not my responsibility to think about your well-being. You're supposed to take care of that. I need you here to do this thing. You're not doing the thing. If you don't want to do it, this relationship is no longer profitable for me. You now need to leave. And that was very much, it almost felt like a relationship breakup, but it kind of changed how I approach the boss, like, employee relationship. And I think a lot of times, even with the conversation we're having earlier about poverty and money and jobs, some people in the chat were like, we shouldn't be forced to work and all these other things. And I'm like, that's true. If you don't want to be forced to work, you shouldn't have to be forced to work. What? But no, hold on. But it's not it's not then the employer that you are working for now to fund that lifestyle. It's not it's not the person that you're like, so it just stood out to me that, like, you are responsible for your own life, and that hyper responsibility even comes down to the place you work, how you work, where you put, the wage you demand, all those things. It's not like, I'm not supposed to give you much money. I'm not supposed to give you a promotion. I'm not supposed to give you these things. It's 100% on you. And if you haven't planned properly, if you don't have any leverage in this negotiation, if you're not doing the value that I need from you, you're not. And it was just very, I'm going to call it harsh in the delivery, but it was harsh. Yes, but it was very true. It was very honest. And I appreciate that level of vulnerability. And it even made me look into my life of like, holy shit, that's a really good point. Like, I do need to have some fuck you money, and I do need to have some leverage in this relationship, and I do need to bring value so that way I can come to the negotiation table. And it inspired a different part of me that was almost entrepreneurial in that way. Yes. But it's because a lot of times people come to work and like, okay, what can I do to get a promotion? What can I do to make more money? But that's a very different conversation than how can I provide value? How can I add to the equity? Like, it's a different level of value. It's a different level of numbers. I'm not going for the 3% a year. I'm going for something bigger now. Yeah. And it's that change. It just kind of switched something. So I think that's very interesting how you said that. And now as you're explaining these things, I got flashbacks to that of like, yeah, there is that, like, you have to take accountability of your employee life. You don't have to be an entrepreneur. Not everybody else wants to own a business. But even if you decide to be an employee, you still have to have a level of that. You still have to have a level of that value there. And it's just, I don't know, hearing you preach this and then seeing it in practice on the backside, like behind the lives and all these things in the production office that time, it definitely kind of lines up in a different way. So, yeah.
I love that, man.
It was interesting.
I love that. Let's go. Let's go.
Dang, Drew, that is a deep dive topic. Tom said I got to write one. It's going to be so good. I'm going to have to write another one and then another one. And
let's get a weekly from Drew.
Tom watches 17 hours back. Okay, I want to jump into some of these AI like innovations. I love the contacts that let you see infrared, because we always have this conversation. As soon as you can upgrade your like body, you're the first one to sign up for it. And it seems like with these contacts, it has started already.
Oh, these are dope.
Yes.
Man. Yeah, I think we're actually a lot farther along than people realize we are. It's just that the technology is not financially accessible yet.
Sheesh.
But like, look at that.
Immediately.
That is wild.
This seems like a video game, yo. Like,
yes. Yeah. Okay. So this is what I'm saying. So now marry incredible technology like this with so when I was saying AR glasses, clearly we're going to be able to do some pretty magical things with contact lenses. So you'll be interfacing with the world in a way that is far more interesting than the stripped down world itself. Now I understand people that want to push back on this. I have total empathy. There are people that this just seems like a dystopian hellscape. I understand the people that want to eject out of it. But for me, this is like the most thrilling thing ever. I'm so hyped on this kind of thing where I can engage with a world that has been made so interesting. Even if it just gives me data and it's not like, oh, I need dopamine flashes and stuff like that. I just want to understand, like, that chair is interesting. What's that texture? And it pops up and it explains like what it is. Oh my God. Or this person's walking up to me and I can't remember their name. This happens to me a lot. And it gives me that person a little bit of information on them. That's cool. Or imagine that you could do a secret wink to each other. So like, I'm really into mecha. And I don't expect people to care about it if, you know,
not Mecha Hitler.
I was like, oh God, right. In this moment, Mecha got sucked into that stupid meme. No, I'm talking like anime, mechs, Gundam, that kind of thing. Yeah. So oh God, I love it so much. And if I could, for other people that have like, let's say a Project Kaizen digital asset, right? And so if they have it and I detect that in their wallet, and I know in their contact lens or their AR glasses appears like a little mech that does like a, you know, handshake or something over here, and they have one on their shoulder and it does it back to me. And it's like no one else in the room would see it, because that only plays for the person that has the corresponding key. So you can do like all these fun, oh man,
like
so
inside jokes and things like that.
It's just, you can make things endlessly cool, endlessly informative, cool, interesting. Oh man, I'm here for it.
And then in other AI news, there was a robot surgery on humans could be trialed within the decade after success on pig organs. So this has been an international study. They did 8 operations to remove a gallbladder in a row, 100% success rate. The robots killed it.
Let's go.
Aside from this is the number that popped out to me. There's been over 70,000 AI, robotic, human-assisted operations within like the last 3 or 4 years. So they're already, remember we've seen the one in China. So they're already kind of having this hybrid relationship, but this is 100% all robots. And they're saying that trial can be coming by the end of the decade. So we're getting closer and closer to
so rad. This is so rad. This is where we really, in fact, I'm wearing this shirt. So this is from a comic that I wrote called Neon Future, and it just says Augmented, and it's about this. It's about robots learning how to perform surgery. It's about being able to put magical contact lenses on to essentially give people superpowers. I think one day we're going to be able to grow organs so that if your gallbladder gives out, you're not transplanting someone else's gallbladder, it's one of your own, made from your own tissues that you bank ahead of time. Heart, obviously being the most obvious, lungs, whatever. This is just incredible. Now, there are going to be downstream consequences. There's no doubt about that. And as I get older, I can feel there's some weird architecture in my mind around like, so much of the way that I behaved in my life is because I know I'm going to die. That's interesting. And then because death, at least for me, and maybe people don't feel like this, but I have always had in the back of my mind, death is a finish line. And because I know that the race is finite, there's a way that I move and behave where I don't have to think about like, I've always enjoyed reinventing myself because I know I have such limited time. I want to cycle through as many interesting things as I can. If I know I'm going to live forever, I don't know if I'd cycle slower or faster, but I know that I feel very differently about it. And there is something about like, I think some people will get a deep sense of fatigue of like, wait, I'm gonna, like this really stretches on forever. There is no finish line. So it'll be interesting. But anyway, I'm wildly turned on by the idea of being able to live, like even just living to 200. Oh my God, that would be so amazing. So yeah, I love this stuff.
Yeah. Okay. This is the most hilarious thing I've seen. We talked about this last week about how Medicaid is being a tax on the system. We're getting got. This is my beef with it, and this like call articulated my frustration so accurately.
How can I help you? So I think there's a mistake on the bill, but maybe you could help me out. We got a bill, and then we realized that you guys didn't have our insurance, so we sent you the insurance. And it looks like the bill went up.
It went up?
Yeah, the first bill we got without the insurance was $600, and then the second one was almost $1,300.
Double.
Okay. Yeah, so that's the first invoice you received. That's a discount that you receive if you're uninsured. So you're not eligible for the discount since you are insured. And,
this is a Black Mirror episode.
$2,342.14. We billed your insurance. Your insurance only paid $1,078.85.
Can I go back to the discount without the insurance?
No, so you're insured, so you're not eligible for the discount.
This is maddening. Welcome to.
If I go cancel my insurance, am I eligible for the discount?
No, sir, because we checked eligibility, and you do have active coverage for data service.
So we're gonna get our money,
and it keeps going on. And they talk about a bill that was just passed last year that may enforce this, and it's like going back to our incentive things. It's like, yes, if underinsured people are targeted and they have an emergency, yes, they should. We should find a way to get them health care and get them like cured and have them contribute in a way that will actually get the bill paid and stuff like that.
If we can afford to.
Yes. This is ridiculous though. And I think that health insurance and a lot of the companies.
This is how we go bankrupt.
Say more.
They're doubling the cost when there's insurance.
Yes.
And some, and what percentage I don't know, but some percentage of that is going to the same absurdities are going to happen to the government supplied healthcare. So it's like, this is just madness. It's madness. And you need people that have to compete.
Yeah. And because you have insurance, you then get canceled. So it was just like this loop. And I just found that like hilarious that like
that is maddening.
That actually is happening right now.
This is why, and I need to go deep on this before I really extend myself on this, but looking at places like the UAE, where oil money allows them to just provide great healthcare to everybody in their country, it's like, okay, how do we get the U.S. on that sovereign wealth fund tip so that we can then pay out of that instead of taxing people? So like, you work, you do your thing, we don't tax you. Like, we're making money off of all these resources that you have access to, that, you know, by being a citizen of the country, like you get these payouts. Okay, now let's go. Now people can really get money into the system that will lead to innovation, and all that would be incredible. But I've never done the deep dive on like, why didn't we? Like, other countries do that, but we never did that. Like, is it just because everything in America is privatized up to a point? Because I have a feeling this is going to go one way or the other. Like, either sovereign wealth funds are like, oh, no, that only works with authoritarian governments. Like, we do private property. Okay, but we don't make everything private. And so what's going on? And there's a name for that. There's this thesis put through that's like, the reason people pollute is because it's not a private good. If there were a known set of people that owned that river, they're going to go to any business that's trying to pollute on and be like, nope, you're damaging my river. And so you owe a fee. And then the company's going to be like, oh, geez, I don't want to pay the fee, so I'm going to have to figure out another way to do this. And so if the air was owned, if air, water, all of it was owned, suddenly people aren't going to pollute because there's someone that's being damaged. They're going to come after you. They're either going to sue you, charge you money, whatever. And so it's like, again, I haven't done the deep dive yet, so it's entirely possible that this string of logic blows up. But it may be that we're in this weird intermediary thing where we make a lot of things private, but not everything private, and that you want to be in one of the extremes, either where you're Saudi Arabia and you just nationalized oil, everything else is private, but the thing that makes us the real money, that's nationalized, and then we pay for all these things. Need to look at that. It's a very interesting. In fact, this makes me want to actually document. As soon as we are done, I need to write this down.
And Nicole Shanahan is talking about geoengineering.
So EPA Administrator Lee Zeldin announced today that his agency will finally release detailed information on geoengineering. If you followed me for a while, you know this is something I care deeply about. So this feels like the right moment to share. I have been speaking with a whistleblower over the past several weeks who has helped me really understand what's happening in our skies. They have given me information that could shed real light on these programs, who's behind them, where the funding's coming from, and what we can do to stop them. I'll be posting an article on my X feed later today, so please stay tuned.
And this is on the back of everything that was going on in Texas with the flash flood and speculation that a geoengineering company was being involved. And one of the CEOs actually went on CNN and said the quiet part out loud.
When you are accused of engineering the weather and weather modification, what would you say to that?
Yeah, I mean, for one, I think that this is a very consequential technology, right? Not just anybody should be allowed to modify the weather. There should be oversight and transparency.
When you are accused of...
the conspiracy theorists are up big. He just admitted we can impact the weather. People called us crazy. People told us chemtrails weren't real. People said the clouds couldn't be manipulated. They couldn't move hurricanes. Like, and we can manipulate the weather. Like, this is crazy to me.
Here we are. Yeah, that is... I don't understand how things like this are hidden, that they're not openly discussed. Is this one that has been like, hey, everything's transparent, nobody looked at it, or people have been looking at it and being lied to? Are they hiding from FOIA requests? Because surely there are people that are pursuing this trying to get the real answer. But yes, 1,000%, if something like the floods in Texas are caused because we're seeding the sky, like that is something that needs to be openly debated and talked about. That's crazy. And I know that there was a similar thing in the, I think it was in Dubai, where they had some absurd amount of rain fall in like an hour. It was like, this was a year's worth of rain in 10 minutes. It was something ridiculous. and of course massive flooding.
Yeah.
So yeah, I don't know. I've heard people talk for a while like chemtrails and all that.
Yeah.
And I was always like, bro, a normal airplane like will get the contrails. So are they just like loony or? But it seems like there really is something going on. I just don't know. Like this kid, he's like 25, I think, is CEO of a company that can do this. Like, did he have to get permits? Like, you've got to get a permit to film on a street corner. Like, can you just throw stuff into the atmosphere?
You
like,
just throw a cloud up there.
Know more about
but to
this.
your point, nobody owns the air, so you can technically pollute, quote unquote, in those places. It's interesting to me because I'm split, because living in California, we had a drought for 10 years minus the last couple of years of rainfall we've been getting that kind of broke us out of that. So I understand the environmental necessity to sometimes intervene, and I even hate that word, to kind of help maintain crop yield, to try to do these things. But then on the other side of this, with everything else that the government corporations do, the incentives are in the wrong place. So they're going to make sure they maximize profit, contracts, reoccurring customers, and health, long-term impacts, and longevity might not be as high of a priority. So there has to be a balance there.
Yeah, one, we need to understand what the long-term consequences of this stuff are. We are clearly doing things that are shortening our lives that we're unaware of. Like, dude, I've lived an unimaginably healthy life, and like having to have dealt with skin cancer, I was like, wait a second, hold on, something's fishy here. I don't exactly lay out in the sun all the time. I'm not a sun fiend. My diet be clean. Yeah. So I was like, But my sister was putting forth conspiracy. She was like, oh, the ozone is depleted. I was like, is it? So I don't know. But I have a feeling. Something feels sus, Drew. Something feels sus. But I'm super headline level on this. But this feels like we need to know. The most interesting thing that I took out of that clip is Nicole Shanahan is coming for next.
Yeah, she's not playing.
When I met her, she was so sweet and so like respectful, and I would say bordering on quiet. And now like she's like getting more aggressive and putting herself out there harder. She's going to be one to watch. Shout out to her for breaking news. Like for those that don't remember, they broke the news that they were dropping out of the presidential race on impact theory.
Yeah.
That is correct. That was actually a really fun day when her handlers pulled me aside and goes, you're going to want to release that episode fast. And I was like, I see we have not discussed this anywhere. That was pretty funny because I could tell like the whole first hour of the interview, I felt like she's being really coy. And in the end, she never said this, but my final analysis was like she was testing to see like how much she could trust me or whatever. Like, was I trying to play gotcha or anything like that? And then at some point, she like started dropping these little hints about like, oh, we might, back off. And I was like, what? And so when she finally said the words, I was like, everyone on the team was like, didn't want to breathe because we're like, wait a second, this is pretty big breaking news. Yeah, we were everywhere. Nice. Everywhere during that cycle.
Nice. Yeah, I'm looking through. Everybody's like, yeah, some guy on Sean Ryan talked about seeding. And yeah, of course they manipulate the weather. So
I think it's the same guy.
Yeah.
The same kid from that where they were trying to do the gotcha.
Okay.
Who said this?
So I guess I feel like all my conspiracy theories are out now. I thought manipulating the weather was the last one. I was like, all right, Epstein, they got all like big government is trying to manipulate you. I got America throwing coups.
The last one is space lasers, bro.
Space lasers?
Space lasers.
I'm staying away from that one.
Lizard, space lasers.
I'm staying away from that way. Lizard,
come on, Drew.
Lizard
Let's
people.
see if we can get canceled again.
We have to rush to it. Yeah, it's been crazy. Speaking of space lasers, Gavin Newsom has been having an interesting week. So there was really a raid. I'm hearing this on a headline level. I was apprehensive to even bring it up because I'm hearing it was on a cannabis farm. When he retweeted it, he just called it Fields. I see tear gas being prompted. I don't even see protesters. I don't see ICE agents themselves. I just see a crowd of smoke and, of course, the shaky cell phone video.
There's footage of the guy like pulling the trigger.
Ooh.
Blah, blah, blah. Back over his shoulder, too. I was like, yo. Now, admittedly, these days, anything could be AI, so it's possible not.
Yeah. I do have beef if there were kids working on a cannabis farm. However, if it was, I feel like a lot of times farmland in general has multiple uses. So maybe there was an 18 and older area and they were just on the orange section. I don't know. Again, I'm at the headline level of this, but there was a lot of feedback coming from why were there kids even on the farm? Why was this happening?
Yeah, I mean, on this one, let's not get hysterical. This is obviously very politically charged. Your kids might come and hang out because you don't want to do daycare and it's the summer and a farm is just a cool place to be, is very different than they were there beside you working in, 18-hour shift or something. So, but they could also be there working an 18-hour shift. So going to have to look into it and see what's going on. But on that one, this still remains for me just a part of the bigger ICE story. Trump had been saying, like, listen, farmers should be able to take responsibility for some of these people. So he doesn't seem gung-ho to, like, get people like that out of the country, even if they are here illegally. Tom Homan has said over and over and over, we go where we know that there are criminals, that there oftentimes are other things going on as well, and so it warrants a raid. So I think a lot of these, it's worth, instead of being hysterical, going in and seeing, like, are they going after the right places, or are they really being willy-nilly? Are they just rolling up to a Home Depot because they know that there's going to be illegal immigrants there, or are they rolling up to a specific Home Depot or whatever because they know that there happens to be a group of people involved in some other thing that are going to be there? I don't know. This may all be terrible. I certainly think the theatrics of it are terrible. The optics just really make people that even were like, yeah, you got to deport people, feel like, oh, God. So, but the rhetoric that I hear out of Trump is very much not overly aggressive. Once he started talking about, like, hey, we need to accept that we don't want to see anything bad happen to farmers, and that these guys could vouch for people that have been there for 5 or 10 years or whatever. But certainly there's a lot of horrible optics with them rolling through parks with horses and tear gas, and there's no one around. And so you're like, wait, this feels like a demonstration more than a reality.
Very weird. It's like you said, they are politically charged. Yeah. All right, that's all I got.
There it is, everybody. Thank you for joining us on this live from Miami. We appreciate you guys being here with us as always. If you haven't already, be sure to subscribe. Tell somebody about this live. We want to keep growing this bad boy so we can do more and cooler stuff for you guys. All right, until next time, my friends, be legendary. Peace.